on YouTube.
This meeting is being recorded.
Oh my gosh. That's really, really calming and sublime, right? Yeah. Maureen, thanks for coming. I wonder if your sister's going to come tonight.
Oh, probably not. Her children are actually up visiting her right now.
Oh, well, yeah, she needs to be spending time with her kids. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, she's thrilled. Unless they go home today, but yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
awesome. She's up in Quebec, right?
Ottawa. Oh, she's outside of Ottawa. Perth.
Okay. Okay, cool. We'll let some people. Brian, nice to see you, my friend. We'll let some people come in, and then we'll start with kind of like I want to let new people who haven't been on before kind of introduce themselves and just make themselves known. It's always nice to really get a name to a face going. So we'll get a few more minutes to let some people in. We usually go to like 7:10, and then after that we'll kind of start the call. But yeah, MJ Lucas, I don't know that I've ever seen you on a call before. No? First time?
Well, first time to this gang anyways.
Okay.
Yes.
So you've been on Gabriel's community calls before?
Yeah, just a little bit. Not so much though, even though I guess I'm the closest member to him. So closest member physically, I mean I have my place near his, sort of like an hour, half an hour away.
Wow, that's awesome. Oh man. Well, we've been talking, we've been trying to do an in-person meetup for a while. And, with everything that's been going on, it's been hard, but I'm hoping that this year there'll be some breakthroughs. But it's cool because you can connect locally with people. I know I have a friend, his name's Cody. He's coming through my state of Missouri, and we're gonna be able to connect. So yeah, it's the possibility. There's something. This is nice. Don't get me wrong. I like seeing all your faces and squares on my screen, but there's something about real in-person communication. I know Megan can attest to that. When you and Vladdy's kids, like, you got to hang out with Vladdy, right?
Oh, it was so fun. Yeah, and Urzi.
That was yeah.
Good. That was really good.
I haven't seen Urzi in a while. I wonder if he's doing okay.
Urzi, do you remember Urzi?
Yeah.
Anyway, she came to, I texted her recently, and it was really sweet just to check in, because she popped in my head, like, how are you? And she had started working with this guy, Micah, who has a landscaping business, who grew up with my husband and has read all the books. And I had no idea. Yeah. And she's like totally in love with somebody that she met here. So.
Oh, well, good for her.
I know, it made me so happy.
Good. Because I remember the last time she was kind of in this space of like, I don't know. She just was like, I'm searching for like what I need to do. I've gone off and lived on the land, and I feel like I'm supposed to be back. So that is so cool that she's like found some solidity.
Totally did. I remember. Yeah, she was like uncertain, and now she's got her footing.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. With Ohia the dog. Right. Yeah. Yep.
Oh my gosh, beautiful. Let a couple more minutes go by, and then we can start. Danish, I don't know if I've ever seen you on a call before. I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, it's me, Danish. I'm also sound of a train on the Telegram.
Oh, okay. Okay, I know who you are now.
Right.
Blessings, my friend. Blessings. Your comments and your insights are appreciated.
Likewise, nice to have a community of like-minded, kind souls. So thank you so much for letting me be part of all of this.
Oh my gosh, it's an open invitation. We're all making it happen together, right?
Do it.
Cool. Awesome. Well, we can just kind of go ahead and start. I think if more people will trample in. So I just want to give, well, first, I'm Wyatt, if you can't tell by my name tag on my little square box on your screen. I started these calls a couple of months ago because I felt that, we really needed a place to really focus just on kin's domain. So, on the community calls, we kind of jump around from law to, whatever. And on the imagery calls, we focus on the domain, but it's imagery. And I want to start partnering with the imagery a little bit in what we do here. But really, it's this call is designed to really, Brian said it very correctly on the platform today, the community platform, like it's about connecting with the land. And that involves connecting with yourself. It involves connecting with your community. It involves all aspects of that because that's how we design the land. But I'm a permaculturist, a gardener, designer, beekeeper, which if you guys have never taken a nap under a beehive, highly recommend. Did that yesterday. Woke up with drool all on the side of my face. It was great. So definitely try that. So yeah, this is a space where we can share our concepts and philosophies about the Kin's domain, and then how can we actualize them, right? How can we practically, implement those, or what does it look like in its practical form? I think that's where a lot of us are at, is we can see it, we have the image, we can conceptualize it, but on a practical level, what can we do with that? But this call is also open to be totally spontaneous as well. If anybody has something to share, we're really just building spiritual fellowship. So with that, I'll end my little blabber speech, and I'd like to let anybody new or anybody who feels called to share anything about their day or something that's been going on or a thought they had or an inspiration, please feel free. The floor is all yours. This is a safe space. So open that up now. And if nobody has anything, that's cool too.
Well, I have something to share as a new person. This from California, visiting my daughter in Hawaii. And we've been talking for years about the Anastasia books. My mom actually introduced them to me probably 15 years ago, and I read through them, and then we passed them on to Megan. And I kind of lost the momentum on doing anything about it, but she's carried it on. And we've been talking so much about getting a bigger lot of land around here to establish a Kin's domain, because our two lots right here together are only a half acre. They're a quarter acre piece, so kind of tiny, but wonderful starting point, totally. And I was sharing the information with my husband by text, and he sounded open to the idea, and Megan and her husband found a lot of land here in Hawaii, and I shared the link to what is it called? On the Ringing Cedars website, there's something about
I don't know what website it is. It's not the foundation.
It's how to start your Kin's domain. And I didn't know that you were supposed to write a letter to establish your vision so that it can manifest, and not just plunk right into the planting and the building on the land without first stating in some form what you want to see happen there. So I've been writing my letter today.
Oh my gosh, that is awesome. Oh, yeah. Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We're going to go look at a 12-acre parcel next week.
Oh my gosh, that is so exciting. I'm so excited for you. Wow. That is so cool. So 12 acres. So man, it'd be a couple of families, but that's amazing though. And is it in the same area as you guys already live, or is it kind of like you'll have to drive a little bit, or?
It's like 30 minutes from our house currently, but in the direction we like to go near there's this valley called Waipio Valley. It's like 1,200 foot elevation, prime growing elevation for all sorts of stuff.
Oh, okay.
Really beautiful spot and more space. But I was so excited because we found it, and then you never want to be pushy, but I showed it to my mom, and then she got inspired and started writing this letter. So then I felt like, okay, this is the right direction. Yeah.
Yeah, Kelly, I remember when I wrote my letter to declaring, to like all myself really and my descendants and whatever, that I was going to set out to do this. And it ties in with kind of like, we have the family book going on the community platform, but the books talk about creating a book, right? That you pass down. And I love that thought. In fact, I saw a picture of Vladimir, And it was, I think it was his Christmas present that one of his daughters gave to him. And it was this ornate, like wooden book that like had, you know, like made out of cedar, I guess. And it was like, had these latches on it, and you like opened it up and it was like, you know, filled with pages. It sounds so cool. I mean, like getting creative and making what your book's going to look like. That's awesome. Well, thank you for your share though, Kelly. That's really exciting that you're going to be moving down to Hawaii.
Thank you.
Feel free. Anybody else? This is just like open forum, kind of, to introduce for the couple of new people, like, if you have inspirations to share or something about your day, or, feel free, let loose. This is a safe space.
Hi, I think I'll just share something fun today. I just want to say I love this community. It's so inspirational. I live in New Brunswick in Canada, 4 acres. But I've been, me and my prayer warrior group, we've been concentrating on a different ascension attitude every day. So today was trust. And I went out snowshoeing today, and a fox almost, went right in front of me. And then I went home to look it up, and it says, trust your intuition. So I thought that was pretty neat. And that's what I'm thinking. I don't really know what I'm supposed to do, but I just keep getting the message, like life will unfold, let it, trust your intuition. So anyway, I just thought I'd share that for my inspiration for the today.
Wow.
So it's really rare that you would have a fox, right? Not where I am. I mean, every once in a while we see them, but not much.
And you went and looked it up, and it like literally that's the meaning of it.
Yeah. It says trust your intuition. That was the first.
Oh my gosh.
You're on a trust day,
You're tapped in, Maureen. That's beautiful. Wow.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Mark Landau, and I just recently found the foundation site. I found the books about 2.5 years ago and read all 10 of them, and I'm in my second reading on book 2. And I'm on day 3 of a fast. So you might kind of sense that a little bit in some way or another. And I'm doing my second online course. And my first online course devoted a module or a week to the Anastasia books, or the Ringing Cedars books, just to try to convey to people how wonderful they are. And I've been on the spiritual path forever. And I've written 8 books and many songs and poems and essays. And the main thrust of my life has been helping myself and others in the world heal, awaken, and evolve spiritually. But until I found the books, I knew there was something very significant missing. And so I could never really fully put myself out there, because I had not, come across some of the most important things that I didn't even know what they were. And of course, the books gave them to me. So this is my first time here. I was at the Thursday evening meeting with Ariane last week, during most of which everyone talked about how wonderful the meeting with you was the day before. And I'm just happy to be here. I've deeply connected with one of the people here, who's kind of darker than everybody else, with a window behind his head, Stanley, as a result of, I think, one of the meetings with Gabriel and the Facebook Foundation page. And we're both in New Mexico. I'm in Santa Fe and he's in Deming. And it's a really profound, powerful connection. So I'm totally delighted with that. And I think I've gone on long enough, so I'll stop.
Mark, I appreciate your honesty and I appreciate who you are, brother. Thank you so much for being here, and good luck on your fasting journey. It's it can be intense. So props to you for writing that out and really, being with the experience. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. My pleasure.
For the couple of people who just joined, we're just kind of going like roundtable style, no particular order. If somebody has something to say, Stanley, you have your mic unmuted, or did you want to say something?
Yeah, I thought I'd just follow up on Mark.
Yeah.
Mark and I have a couple things in common. Number one,
Uh-oh. Can you guys hear him?
we were actually born pretty close to each other the same year, and we both have been in Mankind Project, which is something that well, it's been a big thing in my life since 2007, and I've been having problems with my mic, so I don't know if everybody can hear. And the sun going down here is Deming sun, and it's beautiful. We get 340 to 350 sunrise and sunsets. And my wife and I, who is down in the other corner, Risha, we try to watch the sunrise every day and spend 15 minutes meditating before, 15 minutes after. And then I walk my kin's domain, which has now grown to 2 acres. I had it February 2nd, I bought another acre, so now I have 2 acres. And yesterday we plotted a labyrinth that we're going to put in the new acre. It still hasn't been completely given to us yet, or we haven't signed the papers yet, because it's got to be, Deming wants it to be what do they call that, surveyed, and so we're waiting for that. But I have walked the new acre, and I call that my outside kin's domain, because there's nothing there right now. But I have a full acre here that I walk every morning, and we don't have any children, so our kin, I have two children that they were both born last year, and I see myself as walking for them. One's name is Ellie, and the other one's name is Omkar. It's actually Omedeus instead of Amadeus, and I call him Omkar. But both of those are 1-year-olds that we see someday being on this land. So.
Wow, that's amazing, Stanley. Thank you so much for sharing, and congratulations on acquiring that extra acre of land. And I'm sure you're planning on that as bringing a lot of inspiration to you. I know whenever I have the opportunity to work on a fresh piece of land, it's a very inspiring thing, because you're kind of like, it's a fresh canvas, right? You're an artist, you like making paintings, you got a new canvas in front of you can paint it up. So congratulations, my friend. That's awesome.
Thank you.
And I just want to add to what he just said, and that he lives in a gorgeous house. He has a gorgeous, wonderful house that he and his wife live in. So they're really blessed, and their space is a space of love, and it's going to be magnificent, I'm sure.
Thank you for that, Mark. Anybody else feel like, before we jump into the couple of topics I had for today, feel like sharing how they're feeling, or what's been going on, or what's inspiring, or I love Maureen's share, how she's just like, affirmation. She's been doing ascension things, so it can be just a little blurb or something you'd like to tell everybody. Anything, or else we'll jump right in. Okie dokie. Well, so the thing that I wanted to kind of talk to everybody today about is, so Arion's call is tomorrow, right? And that's the image. That's the image of what we're creating here, of what we're doing. So it goes without saying that these calls go like totally hand in hand, right? I mean, you can't create what you can't already see, or else you're kind of like, we're definitely not being conscious creators then. So, when we visualize too, we usually use definitions. When we think of a sun, like we think of the sun that we know. So when we think of a kin's domain, we think of the kin's domain that we know. And so I thought, which would be a really cool activity, would be to just go around round table style. And, I think it's very valuable to hear what everybody else's idea of a kin's domain is, because we've all read within the books, but the image is surely different in slight variations for everybody here. So hearing each other's inspirations about, and what they focus on in their words, I just think that would be really powerful. And then we can kind of go from there. If everybody's down with that, I thought that would be a really cool activity to start with. Yeah. See some nods. Nods. Okay. Well, not to put you on the spot, but Brian, you are the one living kind of closest to the kin's domain lifestyle, I'm pretty sure, right? I mean, from what I've heard from you before, like you're not like totally self-sufficient, but like you're living a pretty close lifestyle. So I'd love to hear what you have to say about this, brother.
Well, we're working on getting to that self-sustainable lifestyle. We've got our 3 acres, and we're we're in Hawaii, and so we're dealing with some thick jungle rainforest, which is a big challenge to I guess restore. Just because a lot of landscapes here in Hawaii have been degraded with invasive species for many years now. So it becomes this thick, choked out mass of invasive plants that, they just don't play nice with other plants and other beings, except, other invasive species that kind of continue this process. And so it's sort of this, landscape restoration is one of my passions and part of the work I do. So doing this on a personal level really feels good. Of course, I'm not restoring a completely native landscape. Definitely supporting the native ohia trees that are here, which is wonderful. But a combination of natives in the understories, as well as just growing food. So we're getting the invasive species out and planting it with, food trees, other native trees. And so, yeah, it's been really beautiful. One of the things that's been a challenge is we really wanted to do the living fence idea, but with the wild pig population here in Hawaii, they don't play very nice either with attempts to garden. You plant a tree, they smell the fresh soil that you plant up, and they just dig it up. And so we tried early on a couple things with that, but we found a really nice, I think it's a good system that keeps it open still, but protected, and that's using real short to the ground and open electric fencing. A 2-wire strand of electric fencing keeps the pigs out, and then you don't feel so shut in by like this fencing, this hog wire fencing. So we moved in here, we had like a 3/4 acre area that had been fenced with this, and it was this rusty old hog wire fence. So We've been setting out to get the area protected by this electric fencing system, and then just removing that, this old rusty, gross fence, and and it's really opened things up. It just helps the landscape flow better. It feels like it's not so separate between one part of our property and another part of our property. So that's been really beautiful in building this, building our kin's domain, and everything is, as we've been working on it more, everything's just responding beautifully. Our gardens are flourishing and feeding us, and it's fruits happening.
Nice. Oh my gosh.
So it's been a really amazing experience to have this this plot of land that you own, that you've made this statement to the universe, like, I'm going to create this kin's domain, and I'm going to do things in an intentional way to be closer with the universe and closer with our our true selves. And it's really, and beyond that, it's this inner freedom, I guess, that you feel. Obviously when you're living on your own land versus, like, say you're renting a property from someone else or living on someone else's land, or just in the confines of an urban area or something like that, there's just this sense of freedom and belonging to this energy that's greater than us. It encapsulates all of us here in this setting that we're at. We're all surrounded by the same energy, and when you really connect with your landscape, you really feel a part of this whole. And so I guess that's the main beauty of it. Just,
yeah, your last sentence just like hit me like a rock. Like, when you take part in it, you feel a part of the whole. Like, when you engage in it, you become a part of the whole. Like, that's so, and I mean, it's so simple, but I don't think it's anything that we think about all the time. Is, like, just setting out to design these domains, just the intention, just the image, just the beginnings of learning plants and maybe studying herbs or whatever. Like, it brings us closer to wholeness, and that feeling is, oh my gosh, there's like, what other feeling do you want? Like, no feeling of, satiating your hunger or drinking your, the best water in the earth compares to that feeling of feeling whole. Those are all just pieces of it, like, oh, we have this tree we planted, we have this thing, it's like, but to be a part of the inner workings of the cosmos. Beautifully put, Brian. Thank you so much. I want to just see, like, oh, go ahead.
Can I just ask a question? Brian, are you willing to share where you are in Hawaii?
I'm in East Hawaii, in the Puna region.
On the Big Island?
On the Big Island of Hawaii.
And how long have you been there?
I've been here for 18 years, and then just got, just started building our kin's domain 2 years ago.
And have you connected with Joan Ocean?
I don't think so.
Okay. She does porpoise swims, and she used to live right in Kealakekua Bay, but she moved up the hill, and she's awesome. Have you swum with a dolphin?
I have swam with dolphins.
Something?
That is an amazing experience. Yeah, over, and doing that. Yeah, That's one of the beauties of being here. The dolphins are very
Right.
playful, and you just got to be respectful and let them swim to you, I guess.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow, sweet. That's amazing. I've never swam with the dolphins yet, so that's something I'm hoping to do one day.
It's magical.
Oh man, I bet. Well, if you don't feel comfortable, I'm gonna like help, popcorn people here. I just like, it can be 2 words. It doesn't have to be, I mean, Brian's living on his domain, so it's a little bit different, but I just think it would be really powerful for us all to share a couple of words about what our idea of a domain is, because it's going to add to this whole collective image of it for us and kind of bring it about faster. So if you don't want to, speak, that's totally fine. We'll just give you, I'll pause for a couple moments and then skip over, but I'm just going to start at the top right, or top left of my screen. Mark, you just spoke, but you're at my top left. So in a couple of words, what does a domain mean to you, and what are you maybe most inspired about with it?
Well, I'm 75 and I have very little money. But a number of deep esoteric people and groups that I know kind of point to Tennessee and maybe Arkansas as, some of the best soil in the country, not too hot, not too cold, not too far north, not too far south, and for other reasons as well. So if ever I were able to, I mean, I would love to be in a position to just buy a huge chunk of land and give hectares away to, almost all comers who have read these books. But besides all of the wonderful things that the books say, and all the parts of it, the woods and the pond and the fence and over 300 perennials and the herbs and everything else, and making a lot of those your own through the protocol that she lays out in book 1. I don't feel like I have all that much to say about it.
That's plenty right there. That's really inspiring stuff. All of that stuff is whole topics on itself. That's inspiring.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Kelly, would you like to go? You're getting close. You're getting excited, right?
Yes, I am. And I feel like the draw of it. I can't remember your question. Sorry, but this is what I'm
just like your idea. Like when I say kin's domain, what words want to flow off your tongue? Let's make it simple like that. It doesn't have to be anything specific, but a poll, a draw, inspiration,
Poll is having my family members in closer proximity and being able to sustain our lifestyle off of the land in a more harmonious way. I just feel like we're so fractured and far apart, and there is a way to do it in a more harmonious way and sustainable way that I can see the possibility. The light is glimmering out there. Just have to make my way towards it.
Talking about earlier, like it's a center for our family to come together, or community, and rejuvenate and heal. It's like an energy center when you're in a space of love and connection with each other, with the earth. I was away, so is that what you're talking
That's
about?
fine. It's just
beautiful.
What's domain mean to you when you think of it?
It's the domain of your kin,
right?
Beautifully put, Megan.
I mean,
I love it.
Your kin, which is exactly what you're describing. Yep. Kin is your family and your community, and it's a connection, right? More than anything, we're all connected, and so it's a space where there's less noise keeping us apart. Yeah, I suppose less interference. Mm-hmm. And less ocean, because we have an ocean between us right now. Which is really difficult.
Yeah. It's funny you literally, your answer was, it's the domain of your kin. On Sunday, we were talking on the community call about how the words kin's domain have like a whole image behind them, that if you use any other words, that was our topic of discussion, like eco village or homestead, you kind of forsake this image that like the words kin and domain were not random selections by, Anastasia. And there's, she maintains that behind each letter there's an image. So certainly behind each word, especially words as powerful as kin's domain, I'm sure there's some powerful images there.
Yeah, you know what I'll never forget is that first Russia call
Yeah.
that we had. And they had, I can't remember her name, but she was a teenager and she was living on the Kin's domain and had left school. And so I was asking her about, the effect of how it was, right? Because we're doing that with our children. We're going to exit. This is their last year in their regular school, and we're exiting next year, which is scary. And how did it work for her? And she said, well, I'm with my kin. So matter of factly, like, that's just the answer. This is my family. They're your kin. They're your connection. So it was like, it'll be obviously okay because you're with your kin. And she felt that way, which was really nice to hear. But she used the word kin, well, in Russian. Yeah. That when she said it, it had more power than family. Or, I mean, family is part of it too, but that word kin, I see what you're saying. It does have power.
Mm-hmm.
Thing in it. So
it's beyond.
Totally.
It's beyond the biological relation. It's the kin of your choice too, right? The people that you're drawn to and are drawn to you. So it doesn't have to be that you have biological relations near you.
Totally.
Yeah. Well, kin could be your ancestors from another life.
Right.
That gets really past the point. Anyway, sorry, we're being chatty.
No, it is so beautiful. Thank you guys. Stanley, if you
can I just add one quick thing?
Please.
I said this, I think, in Gabriel's meeting, but what you said about the wholeness being everything, I totally resonate with that. But what it also does, besides connecting you with, with God and nature and the earth and everything else, is that it takes you out of the world order. It takes you out of the worldwide corrupt system that rules our world, and it's based on money, and it's based on work, and it's based on taxes, and it's the whole thing is sick and it's corrupt, and it completely takes you out of that so that you become completely free when it's there and full and self-sufficient.
Thank you for that, Mark. Yeah, it's definitely a really powerful thing.
I'd like to add something. I think that what Mark is saying is spot on. I've only read these books a couple of months ago, so I'm fairly new to this mindset, right? In many ways, but I think there's two ways of looking at it, right? When I first read the book, I thought to myself, well, this idea of a kin's domain is just so appealing that how soon can I do it? Because I just want to get away from the kind of the technocracy that we live in today and like find this new way of living. But then I realized that I have a much larger role to play where I am right now. And for me, it's slightly more long-term perhaps than some people, because I know there's a purpose I have to fulfill where I am currently. So for me, slightly more long-term, but it's not that disaligned what Megan said, which is bringing a large disjointed family together in one physical location where they can thrive and reconnect to one another the way they were always meant to. But the world we live in today, we keep getting the fibers of life keep getting disconnected and we keep getting pulled further apart. So that's how I look at it. So for me, it's more of a discovery process. I'm not quite sure I'm where most of you guys are in terms of the execution of your vision, but I'm grateful to be part of this group because a lot of these ideas will ultimately help me, solidify my vision of where I would like my kin's domain to be and what that would look like. So thank you.
Oh, the purity of your soul speaks, Danesh. That's beautiful. I resonate so much with what you said, because I feel the same way. I had a clear opportunity to go immediately live on a space of love and in a domain, and work to acquire the land and then live. And I felt like, no. Like, we need you. Like, if you don't do it, who's gonna do it? When you have that thought, like, you're not supposed to be going to your domain right away. So, I see your leadership, and I'm sure your community and the people that you touch see it as well. And yeah, we're all on this discovery journey, because we're all actualizing it first in here and in here, and then it'll materialize. Like, Russia is leading the game with that. Like, they, from the get-go, like, we're like, hey, like, we get it. Like, we're, America, we're weeding through, but it's such an exciting time to be here. So to see you here and to see you express how you feel about that, I think a lot of people resonate with that. It is more long term for them. So thank you so much for sharing that. If we still want to do the popcorn thing about what comes up with domains, Stanley and your wife Raisha, you guys are next to each other. If you guys want to both speak just a couple of words about what it means to you, or what comes up for you, what would you like people to know? I don't know. I'm not trying to be too limiting for people here. I want them to be able to express.
Well, I have one quick question, and then I'll give it to Risha. Danesh, where do you live?
So I live not far from Washington, D.C. in Virginia.
Oh.
Okay. And Risha, would you like to speak?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Wyatt, too. And I really am feeling this beautiful group. It's feeling good to me.
Right.
I'd say that my feelings, where I stand, is perhaps a little bit different from, well, we're all unique. I think that's our strength, isn't it? Our uniqueness.
Yeah.
And I do hold a unique position, I think, and I'm feeling more and more into it all the time. I'm 77 years old, and I've lived a really full and exciting life. And I'm in this exciting time now where I find myself in, Anastasia came to us about 2 years ago, and we just devoured it and felt it cellularly in our bodies. We could really resonate with it. And so I'm feeling now the possibilities of a fifth dimensional estate. In other words, perhaps taking this physical form into a new, into what we create here as a new consciousness. Or I could leave my physical form. I always thought I was going to leave it at age 80, which is just 2 years from now. And I'm happy and healthy. What a great way to go. So we were led here 5 years ago, truly led to this piece of land in the high desert in New Mexico. And I'm a farmer, and I farmed a lot, grew a lot of crops in Washington State where we lived. And this is entirely different. So my idea of a kin's domain, with all what I'm saying, is I do have some just planted beets and carrots today, and radishes, but they're all above ground. They're all, they're not really with their feet in the ground because it's all desert. I have no idea how to garden here. And so that typical kin's domain that I read about in Russia doesn't seem like it'll fit here. And with where I am in my life, I actually feel like I'm withdrawing from the third dimension quite a bit and living on the fifth dimension more and more and more. And so my energy is going into somehow creating this new world right here, right now, but more in a fluid state, not so grounded. I don't know if any of that makes any sense, but it's filled with a lot of love.
No, it makes complete sense. I was going to pull up, but maybe you could find it on your own. Toby Hemingway, a renowned permaculturist, has a great example of regreening the desert. It's something that takes for the deserts, with obvious reasons. The big concern is water, and you get annual rainfalls of like what, very minimal amounts, and you get them at one time in the season, right?
Yes, 6 inches in the summertime, which is so weird.
Right. And really everything is about water catchment and, making these, there's another famous story that dovetails this. Oh gosh, I forgot where. It's in Arizona, the Tuscan Swales. The Theodore Roosevelt, I think it was Theodore, may have been Franklin. They built these huge swales to regreen the Arizona desert. And you can see it's not like a lush paradise on the side where they did the swales. However, there is notably more trees. There's notably more biomass on the top of the soil layer. So I would just look into that, because I think that it's sad for me to be like, oh, I live in the desert, it won't work. Like it could. I mean, I'm not saying, like, I'm so blessed. I live in the Midwest state. We have like the best soil in the world, and like we have deciduous trees and fruit. I mean, I can grow anything I want to grow pretty much. Not tropical mangoes, but I'll get those from Megan and Kelly at their domain.
Right.
But it is doable though. So I do want to just throw that spark of hope at you that it totally is doable.
I hear you so much. And one of the things as we acquired this property that we were told, Spirit guided us, the first thing we did was to drill a 300+ foot well. And what the words came was, this is a community well, because there may come a time very soon when people don't have water in your area. And this is open, open, open. That was the words that came, open, share, share, share. But since then, not that I've changed that in any way, except I do see the possibility of using that water for more greening.
Thank you so much for your share.
You're welcome.
Not it, Ariane, you're it. Popcorn time.
Awesome. Yeah. I'm so happy to be here. These calls are so amazing. We get to unite and connect and have these conversations. I think for me, this KINS domain, I don't think I know for me, this KINS domain is going to be a legacy. It's going to be the greatest contribution that I can offer. I know this. And I'm stepping into a phase where I'm looking to create a family in the not too far future. And I cannot see that happening, honoring the wholeness that I am without having this community, without having this settlement blueprint that Anastasia talks about. Like, I'm calling out for it, and I know I need it, and I know this child needs it, this child that's coming into my life. This land is going to be something that's going to go so far beyond me. That's something that's always really bugged me about our society, how it's just me, myself, and I. You just think about yourself. Don't think about the future. Don't think about future generation. Just think about you. Like, I was like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Like, this is unbelievable. So this blueprint, this KINS domain blueprint, it is so brilliant because it is so far beyond us. Like, in every possible thinkable way, it is beyond just us. And that makes my heart sing. I have so much freedom just thinking of that, and thinking of, hey, like, this child that's coming up and their children will have this incredible oasis where they could feed themselves and nourish themselves and drink clean water, like coming back to the basics, like you said, Wyatt, right? Earlier on in the call. So this is incredible. I resonate with everything that everybody has shared here. And a part of me gets excited. I'm like, oh my God, this is happening now. Like, we're in it. We are 5D. Like, we are it. Like, the new is here now. We are living it. And so I'm like, oh my God. Part of me is like, maybe I'm still a bit in the 3D. I don't know. Like, it's all new. But really, if I let myself just chill out and be, with this process, it's incredible. Oh my God, if I really trust, and I'm like, yeah, you know, this Kin's domain is coming to me. Sure enough, there's magic, miracles happening. And there's a lot of us in this community that are working to normalize these miracles, normalize it. Like, yeah, that's a miracle and it's normal. Yeah, that's magic. And yeah, like that's how life is, you know, instead of being surprised by it. So I'm hearing all of you speak and I'm seeing it in all of you. You know, I'm seeing this in all of you as well. This is amazing. And Wyatt, when have we had a Kin's domain call where the first few speakers have talked about like land and acquiring land? Like, this is really exciting, you know, and I see all these future calls, Kin's domain calls being that, like, hey, I just got this 30 acre and I just got my, you know. So anyway, long story short, I'll tie it up here. It's everything, you know. I heard people talk about wholeness. I heard people talk about I connect with everything that you're all saying here. It's literally the most exciting time to be alive. It's oh my God, amazing.
Oh, sometimes guys, when Ariane talks, I can't help but just laugh and smile with joy. It's a pretty cathartic experience, let me tell you, being her friend.
I couldn't stop doing spirit fingers.
I know.
Yes.
I know.
True. It's true. It's true. Yeah, it's true. So anyway, thank you so much, everyone. We're already in it. It's already we're in it. 5D full on. Like, the mind might want to trick us, but it's here now. We are it. Like, you know, let's let it show us. Let's let it show us, you know, like, oh my God.
Beautiful. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Ariane.
Yeah.
So next on my screen, I have MJ Lucas. If you feel called to share a couple of words, please do about the domain.
Sure. Oh, good evening, everyone. Actually, I fall in that segment of the group of people that don't have kids, except that I somehow inherited a segment. Well, my parents were wise to buy 30 some acres of forest land outside of Montreal. Yeah.
Nice.
And I inherited that thing, and from day one, it's been a focus of mine to just keep this thing. And there's that phrase, if you've seen a certain Kevin Costner old movie where he just says at some point, build it and they will come. It's a catchphrase, and that's pretty much how I feel about the space I have outside here. I don't know who will be there, but from time to time, I have surprises, little flashes of something. I get to meditate in the forest, blah, 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 start raking a spot. And last summer I rake, and I'm thinking, I'm making this new path for the ones that will be here, that will come here. And I start feeling a presence, and I'm going, okay, who's that? And I look up and there's a shadow down that way, and I went, okay, hi. It was just a tiny little wink from the universe, from the future. Doesn't matter. Just me being present in the forest, a timeless forest, and it welcoming me. And that's, I don't know, the Kin's domain, the Anastasia books, I've been immersed into them for 10 years or something. So yeah,
Oh my God.
It's just part of it. Built it and they will come.
I have so much joy when I listen to you talk. That is great. Like, that is so cool, because it's so cool hearing all these different roles, right? Like, you know, we have moms and daughters connecting. We have people without children that are like bringing in children. We have people that are new to the idea. Then we have somebody who's like, I'm making the space and somebody's going to come and I don't even know. Like, it's so cool. This dream is so universal. Oh, it's beautiful. Wow.
Maybe where they're making the space is not a physical space necessarily, but it's a space in their heart.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a quote in the book that goes, wherever love is dissolved, like in space, like it exists forever. So like having those emotions and those feelings like in that space, like even if you happily continue on sitting in the forest and no one's there at that property, like somebody's going to come along some line and be like, do you guys feel this? Well, this land feels really good, like let's settle down here. That's so cool. Thank you so much.
Can I say something? It reminded me of the story in the book. I think Vladimir comes upon a piece of land that is no longer inhabited, but the trees are growing still. And
oh yeah,
I wonder whose this was and thinks about their story, but he can see that it was so well loved, right? And he came upon land and could feel that it could be inhabited and that the love was still there, even though it wasn't passed on through, familial lineage.
Yeah. He even begins to intuit the person's thought, and he asks Anastasia about that, and she's like, yeah, it's very easy. He like starts walking along this lakeshore and he's like pretending to himself like he's the man, and he's like, I'll put those oak trees over there to protect the cedars, and they'll create this nice cozy nook. And he's like, then he like has this moment where he goes back into Vladimir and he's like, where did that come from? Like, how did I just get that? So that's really cool. Thank you for bringing that up and paralleling that. Maureen, I have you next on my square.
Okay. What I was going to say, when I think of the Kin's domain, I think the interconnection of all life, and it's all about relationships. And now I'm on a beautiful piece of property in of 4 acres. It's got woods, it's by a marsh. It's actually got overflow water. It pumps up so fast. And it's neat, someone mentioned, I built a labyrinth just one day. I was inspired. So I do have a labyrinth on my property, but it's sort of, I'm excited about MJ. I mean, you're not that far from me because I don't know, because I'm all alone in this property. And I don't really know like how to create a Kin's domain, but it's sort of like, no, I'll just do one thing at a time, and I'll just, I mean, I have a big garden and all that. And I got a vision that I'm supposed to make berms, but I don't even know how to make it. I have to, but I had a vision, like that's my next step. And so I feel, and I don't know if I'm meant to stay here or because I feel like it's all about relationships, and I would love the idea of being in a community because I think that's what it's all about. But as a practical question, I did start this little garden club, and we're all going to plant seeds, like, Anastasia says. But it's like, well, how do we know whose seeds are whose? So we're all going to get like different color popsicle sticks, like for whose. But I don't know if anybody has any ideas of how they figure out whose seeds are whose, when you put them in your mouth,
No, unless you segregate the plots where you plant them, but and plant your seeds in this particular place, but that could be confusing too.
Yeah, but then we thought, well, that's sort of confusing because we're either going to pick our own color or everybody has their own row, but some things work better in a whole row if you got a whole rows.
Ellen made a good point. It came to my mind as well. So are you familiar with the concept of hugelkultur beds?
Yeah, I actually built a couple a few years ago.
Oh, okay. Well, you have to be careful because like in some climates they do not work. Like I know in my climate, like they're just the moles' best friend and the groundhogs, and that's their best friend. But like swales would work great in my place. But so you just have to be, if you have a groundhog problem, it might not be the.
Well, it became I didn't do it deep enough or whatever. Well, it became a mice family
Yeah,
place.
yeah.
So I just love the concept. I was so excited when I read about it, and because I also have some forest on my property, and I got beehives as well, and so I'm going to try sleeping underneath them.
See if you get drool down your face like I did.
Okay.
That I slept so sound, and it was just like boom flash. So definitely try that.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I love the whole concept of the Hugo, but anyway, they didn't really work out that good, and I had to anyway because there was but I do love I love the whole I love the whole culture, the whole concept of permaculture, and especially forestry garden too. I listened to the interview, and oh, my whole body was just like, I was so excited.
It's a fascinating topic to really dive deep into. I've had the privilege of working for edible landscaping people and installing food forests for like in an inner city project, and doing my own gardening work here for people in my community. And there's nothing like, when you look at all the different methods, we have all these different modems. Like the most natural really is a food forest. I mean, it really is, because for example, book 4, no spoiler alert, hopefully, but Anastasia prepares dinner for Vladimir, and he's like, why is this tomato so good? Why is this cucumber so good? And she's like, because I don't segregate things like you do. She that she doesn't talk like that, but she's basically like, I don't, I allow the plant to have everything it needs, and I don't eliminate any other plant around it. And because, obviously there's a symbiotic relationship between those. So, that's cool though. It's good to see another Dachnik, with their hands in the soil, Maureen. Sounds like you're doing a lot of good stuff for the earth.
Yeah, I'm trying one step at a time.
Yeah. Let's go. Jamie, you're on my screen. How does that, do you have a couple of words you want to share about a Kin's domain? I appreciate everybody sharing. Hopefully this isn't long drawn out for people. I find it very fascinating.
Hi, I'm Jamie. I'm from Washington State. I live by the mountain, Mount Tahoma, and I love to visualize. So I too am in that group where I don't have kids. I don't really have a desire for kids, but I really want to help the future generations live, in harmony, because I can see that technocracy is going to be the destruction. It will destroy us. And this is the way to go, natural way, planting and having your little space of love. So I do drawings. Oops, I don't know. Let's see, that's a little better. So this is my most recent drawing of all this visualization of like, I don't know how many Kin's domains there are. There's infinite because it goes like off the, like it could go on forever. There's a little community center in the middle, and little mountains in the background. Everybody gets their space of love, and you can, I just drew a little pond for everybody, but you can put whatever you want there, plant your favorite food, and build your little house or even a little cave like Anastasia. So that's what I have to share today. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, Jamie, please post that on Telegram and everywhere, please. On the community platform. Oh my gosh, that is so beautiful. I
will. It's not finished.
Okay, I understand that. I've never visualized anything like that was. That is beautiful. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for sharing. Wow, my heart feels lighter. Thank you. Joanna, I have you next.
Hey guys.
How's it going?
I love joining these calls. They're so inspiring. Thank you so much for hosting them. Yeah, I was gonna say, for the King's domain, they look different for everybody. I feel like everybody's in a different state in their life stage in their life where they, there some people are older, some people are younger, but Anastasia encourages, and the interesting thing is that she gives stories about everyone. She gives stories about the guy who's like, hey, I'm too poor, I can't do anything for my future generations. And Anastasia says, get one seed, plant it with love, one seed, one tree. Like you don't have to do 2.5 acres, and that will set off the intention for your generations. And one of the things that came to mind when I was listening to people speak, I was thinking about the story when she talks about bringing back the souls of your ancestors by planting trees, which I am doing for sure. And she says, just call them because we think they're not longer living with us, but they are, because their souls haven't gone anywhere. Because the energy is so low, she said, on when people pass. I mean, not for everybody, but just because we think, no, she said, because we think that they're there in that niche or wherever you put them, then they're stuck there because of our thoughts. So she says, call your ancestors when you plant a tree, and then your ancestors will live with you for eternity or something like this. And I want to bring them back. I miss my grandparents, and and I can imagine, my great grandparents coming and being my grandkids, and that's what the space of love and the King's Domain will do. It will just continue love through the generations, and I love that. And this week I was looking at land in Alabama because it has really good soil and the land is very cheap. They have good schools, if you live near the university towns around there. I mean, for kids, because I have a son. But people need to maybe think outside the box and start looking at places that are like less populated and that have cheaper land, that have good soil, so that you don't have to spend too much. Maybe just build a little house, a little cabin, something that can just support, a couple of people. Yeah, but that's just what I wanted to say about the King's Domain. I think it looks different for everybody, and I think everybody should follow that gut instinct or their feelings towards that space that's just waiting for us out there. That's all.
Your last line totally hit me in the heart, and your story about the ancestors gave me chills. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. Thank you. My dear friend Sarah, I have you up next on my screen. If you'd like to share a couple of words.
Hello, lovely people. I am definitely feeling that is hopping on the train of feeling inspired from everyone. It's wow, I'm just buzzing right now. Something that's really been coming up for me as I'm contemplating on the King's Domain in the space of love is this feeling that when I return to the land, when I really am living in this harmonious field of love, that energy is going to radiate out, and it's going to affect any place around me that I am. If I'm just my energy field right now, it can radiate out and affect the world around me. So will this space of love. And that the more that we're doing that, the more we're radiating out this energy. And that to me is really beautiful. And when I think of the King's Domain in the space of love, it's really a feeling. That's what it is for me more than anything else. It's a feeling. And I see myself waking up in the morning, and the morning dew is still on the blades of grass. And I go and I visit for some reason, I always imagine the beets that I'm growing. I have some special connection with the beets for some reason, but just going in this beautiful stillness and serenity that this land is going to provide, this peace and connection and joy. And I actually created a little piece of art too. I feel like it's the feelings for me more than anything. So the more that I can connect with the emotion behind it, the more I put that visions in motion. And so I'll just kind of quickly share this beautiful image that I put together of the space of love.
Beautiful.
Is your mind not blown, everybody?
Sweet.
That image is shared up on the Telegram chat.
Sarah needs to talk so we could see it though. One more time. I'm sorry. Thank you.
What's that? Oh.
If you could show it one more time. It's when other people speak, then I lose the image. Okay. Maybe I need, oh, thank you. Oh my gosh.
Yep. Yeah, so for me, it's the feeling. I really can't even put words to it right now. And I'm still working through the books and really getting a feel and an understanding for what this is that we're all collaborating on and co-creating together and bringing about. And I completely agree that, you know, we are in the 5D right now. I really don't feel like that we need to put any limits on what we can create together, because things are just different now. It's already shifted. It's already changed. There's nothing that's out of our reach, because what we're calling in is so pure. What we're calling in is what God intended for us to live in, this beautiful harmony with nature, and to be in joy and bliss all the time. Why not? Yeah. So, thank you.
Does anyone else want to really hug Sarah so freaking hard right now? Sarah, if I were in the room with you, I would hug you so hard right now.
So much. We're getting like, ah. So good.
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh my gosh. See, Sarah, everybody wants to give you a hug today.
I wish we could. I actually, I don't wish. I know, and I so look forward to that time when we can all embrace one another. It's gonna happen one way or the other.
Soon. Very soon. Very soon, actually. There's some exciting possibilities. But okay. Wow.
But you know, hey Wyatt, we're all in different parts of the world for a reason.
Oh, yeah, we've talked about that on the calls, how like we're literally anchors in these different global positions. Like, you know, if we were all just like, oh, let's drop our lives and go all live together right now, like our areas would suffer. Oh my gosh. It would not be good. Ellen, you have something to say, please.
Sure. I want to say hi, and I've loved everyone's shares. It's very inspiring, and I love each unique flavor everyone expresses their dream in. I guess for me, being a nomad for a while, I feel like my energy of my space of love is me wherever I go. And at some point it'll be rooted in a place that I can plant seeds and actually let them and see them grow into trees. But it doesn't stop me from planting seeds where I am and where I go. And so when I dream a place of a kin's domain, a space of love, the vitality of it is just so pristine, and the water just flows in this pure way, and I can hear the birds singing and the sunlight filtering in, and just the laughter of the community in love with life, you know, from all ages. And some people are singing, and some people are creating, and some people are tending their food forest, but they don't have to weed because the weeds just don't grow there. It's like everything has its base and place, and we're just more tapped into nature itself, and we need less, but we have more. We have more to give and more to share and more to celebrate. I have a little image. I don't have any paints, but I made a little kind of a chart or a experience. And this is like a geo shift and I know it's backwards, but it says, trailblazers rooted in community. And on the other side, there's like a picture here of the earth, and it says, powerful genius visionaries growing forward in love in a garden of noble dreams. Whole earth and sea, creating wealth beyond money. That's going to happen. And then up here, it's like about highest vitality, the community of artists and designers help realize a dream she shared, and a fellowship with beautiful happenings, vital seeds grow in an even better way, that never failing supply, a consciousness of abundance. And so it's like a kind of a vision dream board, and it incorporates all the seeds of things that I love and want to experience.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Ellen. It's so good to see you. And isn't it, look, we have all these images today. Look at all the inspired art that's coming on. This is amazing. I hope everybody posts their stuff so that other people can glean from this, what we're experiencing now, but they'll be able to see it on YouTube and stuff. But that I can't even, did you cut those all out of magazines? Muted, you're muted.
A lot of the images I had, my sister and I did this together earlier in the year, and she had a whole bunch of like country living magazines, and then Self-Realization Fellowship has those beautiful calendars with gorgeous images and a lot of God and consciousness quotes. So that's kind of the combination of things that I had to chop and paste with. So it took me a while, but it was fun. And then I just printed some things like a geoship, which isn't in any magazine, from the website, because I like those.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Ellen. I have a couple more people we haven't touched on. So happy. You guys have no idea. This has been a phenomenal day. Like, this is so beautiful. Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining, and I'm excited to hear about your thoughts on the Kin's domain.
Thank you, Wyatt. Yeah, it's been really awesome to hear everybody's stories. I have been asking myself that, like, how or when am I going to start to hear and see other people's actual dreams and stories, like, you know, as it's being created in their heads. And so it's great that this is happening right now. It's one of those normalizing the magic things. So I'm really happy that you brought this topic up and are asking it in this way, asking everybody to share. I'm really appreciative of that. In my case, Kin's domains, I've been thinking that it might be, I have like kind of a two-part dream. And this past one is new after I actually was talking to my dad. I brought this up on the other call, but that he has 200 acres of land that he plans to give to his kids, my parents both. And thinking about how that land is in Minnesota and that there's a lot of sentimental value for that in Minnesota, but then they also really love Florida. And so I haven't felt particularly called to any spot in the United States for myself. And so at this point, Florida really seems like the best because that's where my family seems to really love. But I had thought that one of the places that I could create would actually be almost like a sanctuary for my family. After seeing my family the last couple of weeks, I've recognized that I'm kind of the only one, and I'm probably not alone here, but I'm kind of the only one who really has this like larger vision for everybody to come together and live in like this and live in a beautiful garden, right? And so I'm just thinking that like I have the ideas, I have the vision, I actually have the resources, you know, to create something like that. But then it's like, how does that actually happen? How does it go from dream to actually happening? And so this vision that I have is just a place where actually like all of my relatives, I mean, I have a fairly big family. My mom had 10 brothers and sisters. My dad had 2. I have like several first cousins, you know, and not all of them are doing very good. So are doing very well. And so I just had this thought that it would be so wonderful if I was able to create, like take several of those acres and create little spaces for my family. And that would be kind of like a community area and amongst where other families wanted to build as well. But just starting out with something that would be actually like for them and for my niece and nephew and for just like my little cousins and things like that. And I think I thought of that because when it comes to myself, what I dream for myself is a little bit different, I think, in that like just having the piece of land for first and foremost is where I can be totally free. I can be totally free to be myself with God, to be myself with my family. To heal myself, if I need to do whatever it is that I need to do, without fearing that like like my neighbors are going to judge me or something like that. But really, it's just this place where I can be free. And I'm a little cloudy when it comes to actually like buildings that might be on there. Like I don't feel super connected to finding out ways that I can take my current lifestyle and make it more sustainable. I'm actually like more interested in how I can change my body so that I'm not dependent on those things. And so I'm really interested in what would it be like to not need a house? So on my kin's domain, I actually like really love the idea of picturing like a garden, and there would be beautiful flowers and there'd be beautiful paths and maybe some like tree house type living things, but just like, what is it like? I do like the way Anastasia lives, and part of me wonders if actually she would love to be in a domain, you know. If on her little glade, if there was like, I wonder actually like if that's something that she would dream of, or if she's living in such a way that is somewhere that we're going, and it's a way that we're going. And so just this place that will definitely have water, definitely have lots of scented flowers. So many flowers are beautiful. But when I go down to smell a flower and it doesn't smell like anything, I'm just kind of like, well, what? You know, why don't you smell? And so there's going to have lots of scented flowers. I know that there's going to be a big oak tree on there. And it's just going to be something that like, as I walk through it, it's just alive. And like, it's washing my aura as I walk through it. And I'm just talking to it and I understand it. And the trees dance and the flowers dance. And it's just this beautiful, magical place that's probably going to have portals, you know, portals to other worlds. I plan on living eternally. So, you know, I'll see you guys in forever. So I have big dreams, you know, and yeah, I think it's just this place that I have a lot of big dreams for, and I'm just not sure how to make that jump because I'm clearly like still living in places that have electricity, that have running water, and that have those, and like I'm still doing that. So I'm like, why not do that on a piece of land when I'm doing it myself? But then I'm like, so I'm a little confused about where this jump is going to happen between like recognizing the potential of my body and the potential to live, and I guess maybe I can just say quick, there's this girl that I'm actually fairly inspired by. She's another girl from Russia. Her name's Anastasia as well, but she has a fairly big following right now. She does not eat, drink, or sleep is her big thing. And so she has a lot of fun. It's actually a lot of fun. She's actually in Africa right now, but she is looking for land as well, and has come to the conclusion that in order for her and to live completely, to live as she wants to live, she really just needs land. And so amongst these different spiritual people that I follow that have different ideas, there's the one common thing is this piece of land where you can just do whatever you want on. So I haven't totally like embraced the understanding of what the whole sleep thing is, but I'm definitely like super interested in her and how she's doing things, and that's part of like, okay, there's humans right now that are actually doing this, and they live in the regular world, you know, and there are people who actually have like what's called like the iron jacket, and they live in this world, and I'm like, how can I take those concepts and then also put them onto my kin's domain? So like, that's the kind of like, that's where my mind goes. Yeah. Check.
Thank you so much for sharing all that. If Gabriel was here, he would mention Yogananda, you know, and how Yogananda says, you know, take a piece of land and create your home on it, you know. So I like how you highlighted how most spiritual traditions in some way, shape, or another say, you know, build a family on a piece of land. I think that's really something to note. If they're all saying that, you know, there's got to be some validity to that. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. I mean, you know, I feel like it's like one of those things. I feel it's not a struggle, but I feel like not the confusion, but you're just saying you're not really sure how to make like the kind of the leap, right? And I feel that, and I think it's something that she mentions in the book of like being calm and being like trusting and realizing that, you know, we're not supposed to go and make things uncomfortable for ourselves. Like we know we're superhuman. We know we are. We've also all been raised by parents who maybe didn't instill that, you know, in us or guide that in us. So it's not, you know, if it comes easy and it brings you joy. Now that being said, you know, certain uncomfortability is good for growth, but you know, if it doesn't bring you joy, then I don't think we should do it. Because our kids are going to be raised in joy, and then when we reincarnate, it'll be no problem. So it's like we don't have to like compress everything we want to attain into like this life. I used to think that so much. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be like completely on breath and air, and I'm gonna be like not sleeping, be able to astral travel anywhere I want to go. And it's like, no, it's okay. Like just build a home. You know, it's a chapter in the book. Everybody can build a home, you know, like just build a home and the rest will take care of itself. You'll be on another planet in no time, Elizabeth.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. It'll be like Wyatt 4.0, you know.
Thank you so much for sharing. I want to, Lauren hasn't gone yet. I wanted to give space to Lauren, and then we have two other people. Lauren, if you feel called, if not, no worries, to share a couple of words about, you know, what's going on.
Yeah, just loving listening to all the stories. You know, I'm heading out the door soon, so I'm not really going to speak long, but just really looking forward. Hopefully I'll be getting back to Kauai in the next couple weeks or so. I'm doing a Chelation Detox with my mom. She's a doctor. I'm here in her office, and so really just working on getting out the heavy metals and just purifying my body. And yeah, nice to hear everyone's stories and see the artwork. And
thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I've never done a chelation detox or anything like that. So is that something we all should be embarking upon? What does that involve?
So I'm taking EDTA, which brings out heavy metals from the blood, and then you take other binders like charcoal, zeolite, bentonite that will take it out of your body and help your body eliminate it. And my mom says I was exposed to lead when I was a baby, and they were doing a renovation. So supposedly the lead would go into my bones and just kind of stay there for forever. So these are things I'm just doing to purify myself in preparation for becoming a mother eventually, and it should be done at like 6 months to a year before conception. So I'm just trying to get myself as pure as I can, and it feels really good. I mean, the detoxing part, I haven't had any bad symptoms yet, but we're just increasing the dose, and then, you know, but I've been trying to stay very clean, so hopefully the detox symptoms won't be too bad.
That's so beautiful. Oh my gosh, congratulations on deciding to have a child. I don't know why I felt like saying that, but congratulations.
Well, there's no timeline yet, but I'm just like, I'm going to do what I can do to get myself ready so that as soon as we have to land, I'm like, okay, ready to go.
That's so beautiful. Oh my gosh. Wow. Thank you so much. I want to leave space for Zach and Ela. If any of you feel like you have your cameras off, so I just don't know. If not, no worries. If you wanted to share a little bit about what a kin's domain, you know, kind of means to you, what inspires it about you, or anything like that. And again, if not, no worries. I'll leave a couple moments. Ariane, stop. It's got to be serious. Ariane, serious.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
If no one else is going to go, did Lauren leave? Lauren, are you still here?
She's still here. She's about ready.
Can I just keep you for another 5 seconds?
Sure.
1 second? Is it okay, Wyatt, if I take this next minute or two to talk about the event we're having this weekend?
Oh my gosh, please do.
We're having a birthing men event. So Lauren, you got to be there. You got to be there. Yeah.
I want to know what's it about.
Yeah. So it's this Saturday. For Hawaii, it's gonna be 3 p.m. PST, it's 5 p.m. And EST, it's 8 p.m. It's Birthing Man event. So we have a lovely community member named Emily Thomas. She's absolutely awesome. She gave birth naturally with as much alignment as possible with the Vedrus Anastasia blueprint. She had an incredible experience. She's giving a 3-hour event this Saturday, and she's going to talk all about her birthing process compared to the Western medical process. And she's gonna leave like a very large door open to questions and to comments. I believe she has 2 children, and I'm pretty sure one of them, I might be wrong with this, one of them was pretty much the Anastasia blueprint. So she's a well of information and knowledge regarding natural birthing. I highly recommend, Lauren, you're there, and everyone here, if you would like to participate. It is a free event, and it's actually up on Telegram, so you can see the details, and the Zoom link is there.
It is?
Yep.
I'll post it in here.
Yeah, it's there. I'm also, after this call, I'm going to post it up on the community platform. And I wanted to take 2 seconds before Lauren headed out to say that.
That's great. I'm so excited.
Oh, okay. I see
There's one thing that I'd like to share. I put it in the chat. There's a genius named David C. Johnson who teaches at the University of New Mexico, Las Cruces. And he's come up with something called BEAM, Biologically Enhanced Agricultural Management. And it's a totally natural way, fungal skewed instead of bacterial skewed, to make any soil as healthy, as rich, as wonderful, as perfect, as productive as it could possibly be. So I put that link up in the chat.
I saved that link. I didn't look at it but I saw you post that, and I'm excited to check that out. Thank you so much, Mark. Everybody, I just put in the chat, if it fit, did it not put the Zoom link? Oh, you copy and paste mechanism. Hold on here. We'll get the Zoom link in there for everybody so you can copy that for yourself. Okay, so that's the Birthing Man event that's posted up on the Telegram. Looks like it's going to be March 5th, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Pacific time. It will be recorded and put on YouTube. And then the link I've attached on the following message so everybody can see that. Is this, Ariane, is this male and female only, or female?
Oh, no. She highlights the male role just as importantly, just as equally and significantly. So she encourages both people to be there. And that's the Anastasia blueprint anyway, right? If you think about the blueprint, she talks about the role of the male and how significant it is, how important it is. So yeah, absolutely. Everyone is welcome.
I have a quick question. I don't see that there's a passcode to this. Do you have to have a Zoom account in order to listen?
I don't know who's hosting it. I guess she's hosting it, right, Ariane?
Yeah, she's hosting it. I don't believe you need a passcode. No, I think you just click on the link and it should bring you to the video. It should bring you to the group.
Okay, yeah, I'm wanting to share it with somebody that I know, and I know that they don't have a Zoom account. But in order to get on like this call, I had to have a Zoom account.
So Zoom makes you have one form of authentication. So like you either have to have a passcode or you have to like require people to sign in. So I mean, I guess I could make the passcode, or we could start doing passcodes and just doing simple numbers. But yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna also introduce somebody at the same time. So yeah, Kin's domain for me. So, oh my gosh, it's the place where you can sing a song and everything around you hears it and echoes it. It's the place where the food you grow knows you so well, a place where love is like in the air. And what really catalyzed the vision for me was actually hanging with my sister who joined the call. Her name's Avery. She's on here. One day we were actually on an RV trip and we were making pancakes in the morning for all of our family. Elizabeth, like you, we have a family that is like completely not into any of this whatsoever. So it's kind of interesting because our souls kind of just like gravitated. But we were making pancakes and all of a sudden we're just like, oh, we're gonna build a village. Oh yeah, cool. Okay, and there's gonna be like ponds and creeks and oh yeah. And this creative center that like the kids will learn in and all this stuff. And so it became this like collaborative thing. And then I started learning more about these blueprints of the Kins domain. And I was like, oh my gosh, because this was before I had really gotten into the books, that I had this vision with her. And as the more and more I got into the books, I was like, wow, this is literally what we had dreamed up. And so yeah, for me, this is something that, you know, is a call of hope to my family as well, Elizabeth, because I have family members that, you know, just the other night I was thinking about my grandpa and I just thought about him. I thought about him being eternal, and I thought about like all the choices that could be made within him to like decide to finally be like buried on our domain, and like how that might be a choice that takes some change in for him. But I was just imagining that and it made me happy, you know? So I think like this is going to be huge for other people, not just ourselves, like those members that were like so sure right now that they might not, you know, they're opposed to our idea. It's like they could come around, and because they'll look and they'll see and they'll be like, look at how happy my kid is, or look at how happy my granddaughter is, or, you know. So yeah, that's my story.
Why I feel you so much with that. Like I had those visions as well of just being like in this village. Like my family lives pretty close together. Like a lot of people in the Chicago area live really close together. And my my oldest aunt, it was always her house that everybody gathered at. And so then it's just like this idea, like you were sharing, of just having like the one main space, and then everybody has their own little plots around it. And then you talked about your grandpa possibly being buried on that space, on your space of love. And I had a similar thought about like actually like my dad earlier, and just like what could I really give in return? Like what can I really give in return? Because I'm kind of like my parents actually said the other day, who's going to take Beth in our will? Me being Beth, you know, because like like oh, my oldest is like, oh, I'll take her, you know. And so I'm like, what can I really give to my family? And I'm thinking just like, I know it was a joke, whatever, but it's just like, this is definitely something that I have this vision for. And I think it's just taken me a little while. But yeah, to have like our family be actually be able to be buried on that land, I think that would be amazing.
Well, yeah, it's like, because like as much like resistance, like it's like I like to think of like the amount of resistance is equally proportional to the want and the desire, right? You know, so like when somebody is so against the idea, like I just like to think, oh, well, their soul actually really, really loves this idea. They love it so much that the darkness has to flare up in them to like keep their soul at bay, you know, from being like, oh, I'm going to drop all my bad habits and do this, you know. It's like, the darkness has its defense mechanism. So yeah, it's hard. We all have, I'm sure, experiences with either direct family members or people that aren't, that, you know, come into our life as challenges, and, you know, they can be there for us or for them. It's either way. I think it's just like having that vision, like you're saying, Elizabeth, of believing and feeling, and I think just presenting it to them, you know, in almost like on a subtle level. Like you don't have to be like, hey, you grandpa, yeah, you're getting buried on my domain. Like, I mean, Anastasia actually says that. She's like, do not force anybody to be buried on the domain. She's like, they must desire it of their own free will, which kind of makes sense. Like, I mean, why would you? I don't know. It's hard though, especially when people are like, oh, I'm going to be buried in a church cemetery. And I've like, you like do the logical reasoning and you're like, no, please don't, really don't, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, thanks. Thanks, Wyatt.
Yeah.
Elizabeth and Wyatt both, I mean, I feel like you are speaking my language. I can relate to everything you're saying. And the way I look at it, there's even people who don't necessarily see eye to eye, don't have to. But I think the big challenge for us is that we've been so conditioned to care about what others think of us.
Yeah.
Right. And I think I view this as a challenge, because if you can transcend or be the best version of yourself in spite of all the people around you, even family members that don't see it or are, can appear to be opposition, then I think you will transcend to where this stuff won't bother you anymore, where you will continue to live the life that you're meant to live, irrespective of that. And I think that we kind of need that challenge to break that conditioning, otherwise we would never break it. And if we don't break the conditioning, we'll never be free.
Totally. Oh my gosh. Well said. It's like so spot on, because that's really like when we appeal to the goodness in the person and we know that that's what we have, then it doesn't affect us in the same way.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of touching on like this idea of there being like a law of karma, and then like it's like the spiritual laws of harmony or laws of harmony, but then there's a even greater one, that's the law of forgiveness. And so like having that, I think, is like a lot of what you're talking about. It's just like no matter what's coming at me, it's just forgive, love, like ho'oponopono, asking for forgiveness, giving forgiveness. And yeah, that just like, it clears everything.
Right. And something else you said, Elizabeth, earlier was that you want to live in a space where the building was irrelevant to your experience of the place, right? Mm-hmm. So using that same analogy, you need to live in a world where the opinions of others is irrespective, that you're at a frequency that is above that, and none of that bothers you, and you can still function the way you'd like to. And I think that that's what the mindset you must channel. I think it's what we all must channel.
Thank you. That feels so juicy and good.
Ganesh, are you on the community platform? We would love your presence there, brother.
No, I'm not familiar. Telegram has been my my MO thus far.
Okay, so check out the chat in the chat here, in the chat. Yeah, the chat.
Got it.
And there's the link there. It's really easy to create a profile. We would love to have your insights on there and your perspective. Because I think it's, the more diversified we get, the more people from different angles and different experiences with different intentions, like we just really well round out our community, right? So I'm very grateful for you being here. And I know this is your first call, right? Yeah. So thank you so much. I mean, seriously, I remember my first call and I didn't say a word. I was just like, do these people know me actually? And so it's really inspiring to see, you on here talking like that. It says a lot. Cause like I said, the first call, I was just like, I had my camera on, but I'm like, I'm not saying anything. I'm just going to listen. And, so.
Well, I don't have that many people I can speak to in real life about this. So thank you.
So likewise, brother, likewise. So true. So true.
Elizabeth inspired me to just say one more thing. After 43 years of meditating all different kinds of meditations, new meditations started coming to me. And the first one I ended up calling the love and forgiveness meditation, because it was like Ho'oponopono, which I knew, but it was using the mantra, I love you and forgive you. Very simple. In deep meditation, instead of the way Ho'oponopono uses it. And just that thing about love and forgiveness, they're so central, and they're the most healing essences there are in the universe. So thank you, Elizabeth.
Wow, Mark, you just quoted book 7, Anastasia's grandfather. Love is the essence of the cosmos. Actually, sorry, love is the essence of the universe. You spoke it right there. It's so true too. It rings true. When I say it, it rings true. I get chills. I feel it. Like, that's the truth. Love is the truth. What else could there be? So beautiful, Mark. Thank you. I want to open the floor up because this has been a spontaneous call for sure. We've gone on for we're about an hour and 45, so I don't want to keep anybody. But I want to open the floor up for any questions or any thoughts, comments, ideas, inspirations, anything.
I have one thought. If you have any knowledge of Russian, the new Russian book 1 has just come out, and it's got like 5 chapters that weren't in the first book 1, and actually they weren't in it anywhere. But so I'm on my second reading, starting with it in Russian here. So.
You can read Russian?
Yeah, I was an interpreter in the military.
You fucking
Russian, as a matter of fact.
Wow, that is so awesome.
The Air Force taught me.
So you wow, because I was talking the other day with a lady who speaks Russian, and she like quoted a line out of the book and translated it into English, and it was completely different than the English translation that we've gotten.
Right. However, the translator who's done these books is really good, and I've talked to him and we've communicated. So.
John Woodsworth?
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Awesome.
He didn't really get into it till the third book. Even he
That's what he said. Yeah.
I was just translating, and da 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 yada yada yada. And boy, yeah, the translations are a bit different. But the thing is, the communication is all frequency. She comes to me. She's manifested to me. So I have talked to her personally, and she will talk to anybody. She will come to anybody that can just get in that meditative state and match her frequency. And she'll come to your frequency, but she doesn't want to come too far,
Stanley, could you do maybe a summary of each of those 5 chapters for us who don't read Russian?
Well,
Ellen, I have the English book version of it, but it's probably not the same. But I do have
the English book version of this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the 3rd edition. Gabriel just sent it to everybody. I don't know if I can drop it in here, if it'll let me send a PDF. No, it's not going to let me do that.
Well, I'm busy correlating or reading the chapters in book 1 in English and reading them in here, and it is just so ever since I was given all of the books by a friend, said, here, I think you might want to read these. No shit. It was really one of the nicest gifts I've ever gotten, and I read them out loud to Risha, and I immediately started calling my acre my kin's domain, and on February 2nd I bought the acre right behind me, and it's pretty exciting. And like Risha said, we were guided to get a solar well, which is totally off grid, totally just and it's 40 gallons a minute. It's down into an aquifer for a never-ending water. We hit water at 124 feet, and the guy that drilled the well said, if we go down to 300, you'll have forever water here. And I said, let's go for it, because I am right on the border of city limits. So I have all the city, I have water, lights, and gas and all that. But I've told all my neighbors that if anything happens and they shut down the water, bring your buckets. I got 40 gallons a minute,
Wow.
It's really
That's
cool.
amazing, Stanley. I want to encourage you to reach out to Gabriel. I don't know if they're still looking for a Russian translator, but Gabriel is always looking for people to be able to translate certain Russian texts. And so if you're interested, no pressure by any means. But
what I've been doing since 1984 is studying Sanskrit, and Sanskrit is the root language of the planet. I don't know if you there are so many Russian words that are in Sanskrit, like iskra. Iskra means the spark, and it means the spark in Sanskrit. So I'm just fascinated with Sanskrit and the mantras. That's where I'm at.
Wow. Do you have any recommended ways that you like to start studying these? Like, I mean, do you learn? Because I'd like to learn for sure. So like, do you alphabet first, and then like what?
Well, what happened to me was I was in India. My first night in India, a teacher whose name is Sai Baba. I was going to see him, and he came to me and he said, "Om Namah Shivaya. I am the light of the world." And I said, "What?" And he said, "Om Namah Shivaya. I am the light of the universe." And I went to the meeting the next day and I said to the guy next to me, "Will you write Om Namah Shivaya for me?" And he wrote OMNA, MAH. And I said, "No, no, no, I want it in Sanskrit." And he went, "Shh." And I spent the next half hour trying to copy what he wrote. And finally he grabbed it out of my hand. This is how fortunate. I find teachers everywhere. He grabbed the paper out of my hand and he said, "Had I known you wished to copy it, I wish to written it more perfectly, more precisely." And then he gave me his card and he said, "When Baba goes to Puja party, come and see me." I studied with him for 4 months. Every day at 1:00, he would teach me, and it was fantastic. So to start, just kirtan, get on on Thursday night. Krishna Das sings, and just sing with him and learn the mantras, because they're from the heart, the frequency of the heart. That's what I've found anyway.
Thank you very much. Yeah. It's like the languages definitely carry a different resonance than English. So I'm just looking into.
And Russian is, well, we've all come through Gogol's Overcoat. So read Gogol's Overcoat, and you'll see where every writing has come from. That's
Okay.
what the Russians say.
Okay. Thank you, Stanley.
Namaste. Thank you guys for listening. I got really excited.
I'm equally excited. I'm like ready to learn. It's beautiful.
Happy Navaratri. Yeah.
What other book, Elizabeth?
Something about an overcoat.
Oh, Gogol. Nikolai Gogol.
It's really hard to hear you. Can you type it in the chat? For some reason, you're really quiet.
Is this better? I have a mic. I don't know. I'll put it in the chat.
Nikolai Gogol. Interesting. Okay. Oh, wow. It's been a thrilling day, guys, I must tell you. Does anyone have anything that they'd like to share? I mean, I constantly feel like that's what I'm called to do, is just be like open. There's so many voices that need to speak that aren't mine, so it's so cool to hear all your perspectives. And please, if there's something you want to express so that it seals in or locks in for this call, so that you leave and have a sleepless night of bliss, we're I'm all for it. The floor is open.
Well, I just had I was just to see how many people are interested is what I messaged you earlier about having a call. Maybe it should just be a whole separate call at one point about just talking about community in Kim's domain settlements, and what it would look like, feel like to live in a community amongst, or what the community feels like, looks like. How do you just really some on the ground stuff, like how do you make decisions together? How do you do conflict resolution? Really start to visualize what that looks like, and just start to maybe even do some role playing where we actually play this is what's important to me in my domain, and or in the settlement that I live in. And anyway, yeah, just I'm wondering if people would be interested in having a call like that, or anyway, what people think.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was thinking that we Wyatt and Aria and I have talked about having kind of seminar of different subject areas, and that would be really wonderful if Elizabeth did held like a facilitator role of different communication styles in groups, and we could compile some resources, because I know of many intentional or spiritual communities who have guidebooks on, you know, dialoguing and conflict resolution, and Elizabeth seems to have a lot of wisdom in that area. So that could be one seminar. Maybe we could do it bi-weekly or monthly with different subject areas. Wyatt, maybe you could lead one on permaculture and, you know, feeling what your design would be, and then maybe I could do one on housing and, you know, eco-friendly housing structures, and we could kind of all, or we could do it as a round table of a whole bunch of people, but that might be a really long form.
No, I think that's a good idea. I'm gonna bring that up to Gabriel. I think it's to be a good idea in the summertime. I don't know why immediately my brain was like, oh yeah, summer webinars. I feel like to give us some time to plan and to give him time to like visualize out like, okay, how are we gonna like promote, integrate, and like make this a thing? Because, you know, we can make it like an event that's like really, you know, well attended and like everybody knows about. And I think it would be really cool. I can imagine like sort of a weekend or a 3 or 4 day thing where it's like every day there's a webinar that's like, you know, a subject focus, and maybe the whole overarching theme is like kin's domains. You know, one subject covers the importance of imagery, and then one covers the importance of the community, one the housing, one the planting, you know, like you know, I can totally see that. I think that's a super awesome idea, actually. I don't know, Ariane, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, when you said summer, that kind of really resonated with me too. I feel like the next couple months, there seems to be another set of doors that are opening. Like for example, this birthing event, it's literally, it hasn't even opened, and there's already like three other events that are coming in tied to this theme. So I could totally see, I feel like everything has a perfect time. Everything is coming into this community at a really perfect time, and nothing is rushed, and there's no urgency. There's no need for urgency, right? So I think like when you say summer, I think it would be great. And yeah, even potentially like you mentioned, Wyatt, like a 2 or 3 day type of almost like a oh, I'm missing out the words, but like a condensed type of, not intensive type of like experience, you know, where we really immerse ourselves. So yeah, I think I resonate totally with your approach on that, Wyatt, for sure.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
And then Elizabeth, I have a couple of, like, just one thing that I'm finding is different. So you know, we have a group here in the Midwest states. It's a small group of us, but we're creating a settlement, and so we're drafting all of our required documents and such, right? And we're coming up with these pertinent questions about how does our community function and work. And really what's coming up is like, it's going to be unique for everybody, you know, like everybody's energy and lifestyle is going to determine the best structure that's for them. You know, some people might like, and you even go to look at Russia and they all have different approach. Like I was just messaging Vika and Anton the other day, which I wish I could just speak Russian already, like Stanley over here, so I wouldn't have to use a translator. But I was messaging Vika and Anton and asking them, you know, hey, what's your approach to like land and buying things for children? And they have an approach that's different from how, what was his name? I can't remember his name. The other guy, the guy that spoke to us for a while on the Russia exchange. I can't remember his name, but they all have different approaches. So I think it's just like valuable also to like, yeah, keep that in mind, that like there's not a universal, I don't think, for that particular. Maybe there is, and maybe that's just my opinion. I don't know. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think that's really cool. I totally hear that. I feel like I'm just interested in talking and hearing what all of those different ways are. And just like, yeah, so they all have different ways. Talk about it. What's your way? What's your way? What's your way? What's your idea? What's your idea? Because I have my own ideas, but then it's like I want to hear what everybody else's ideas are. And I think like hearing everybody else's ideas is what kind of helps me form a more clear vision. And so yeah, that's really the main purpose of my interest in it, is just to like hear what people have to say. And
I like totally
get
feel
into the details, yeah.
Yeah, I really feel like this whole desire on your part is really here to serve as a catalyst for these webinars. I mean, that's like what keeps like popping into my brain. I really think that you expressing this is really your desire for like, okay, like these community calls, like, I mean, I'm gonna be honest, like I could get super in depth, like I could have a whole presentation prepared for you guys, but I find more value in open-hearted sharing, and so there is sometimes like a lack of, I would say, like people who are like, I'm logging on to like learn something specific, and I think these webinars could be something very much like that for people, where they're like, hey, like I walked out of there feeling like I know how to do this better. I have a clear concept. So good.
Yeah. I kind of like imagine the calls going in such a way where there's presenters and there's hosts, and they're every day, and they're in the morning and they're in the evening. And then it's just like, there's a big list of like what all the calls that are happening. And it's just, I feel like there's just going to be so many people that want to talk about it. And so it's just like, okay, Tuesday at 3:00 works for me, but then like Tuesday at 4:00 works for me next week. But then like the next time, like Friday at 12:00 works for me. But there's always going to be something available, it feels like, because there's just going to be so many. And so I just see it like just, exponentially growing, and then just having like, it's just available on a consistent basis, I suppose. And that's just like what this is blossoming into. I can feel it. So I'm just feeling that what's happening, I think.
Yeah, it sounds to me what you're saying is more of a panel style discussion, which kind of captures a little bit of what we've experienced here today, which I think works wonderfully. I think there's definitely a place to have something that's more of a workshop, more concentrated on how to do something very specific. And there's a space for that too. But I think that there's a lot of opportunity here to have a much larger discussion, with different ideas and viewpoints that we can kind of pick and choose and take from. Something else you said, Elizabeth, that really resonated with me was about, building the communities within the structure or the framework of a kin's domain. And I'm very curious about that, because I would be more interested in knowing, are there any parallels that I can take from community building in that environment and take them in the environments that we live in today? Right. So we're kind of implementing these changes simultaneously. Some of them are some of these are being incubated and done in more of a kin's domain environment, but some of these lessons or these value adds are also being simultaneously executed in kind of the more traditional environments that some of us still are part of. So I would find that there's definitely an opportunity from cross, cultural, I'm not sure what the word is, but collaboration between these two fronts as well.
I think that's a great point. I really love that. Yeah, because like there are communities that are not necessarily kin's domain settlements yet, that do have really great ways of connecting and communicating with each other. And just to hear what does your town do? Maybe this person's from like a little town, and like this is how you guys get together, and just like really just hear people's stories is what I'm super interested in regards to like, what is community on a settlement to you? Like, what does that look like to you? Yeah.
Because now more than ever, I think there's a willingness for people to look at things differently. And I think that, it's no coincidence that we're having the discussion, that we are, joined by this common purpose today, because there is value we can provide. And there's people who are hungry for this knowledge or this guidance or this connection that's been severed for so long. Actually, I'd say the last 2 years. But let's be honest, we know it's a much larger disconnect that spans a much larger period of time. So I would definitely be open to how we can kind of cross share, some of these ideas.
Cool.
Wyatt, Do you always go over 2 hours? You're muted.
Oops, sorry. Yeah, I mean, usually I don't really set a time limit. It's kind of whenever the energy subsides, or when it catapults off into the atmosphere, one of the two. The last call I had was like, oh my gosh, I think we went for 3 hours, nearly. Yeah, it just depends, Mark. I mean, but by no means, I mean, there's no one's held captive here.
You might change the email, because in the email it just says 1 hour. So if it's usually 2 hours or 3 hours, you might change it to 2 hours or something like that.
That's a good point, Mark, because I think what I'm hearing from you is that we could get more people to come in if the time was shown differently, because some people are like, oh, well, I can't make 7 because I'm having dinner with my family, but at 8, and we're still going. So I will mention that to Gabriel. Do all of our calls say that?
I think Ariane's, if she's still here, Ariane, I think hers says 1.5 hours, but yours says 1 hour.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, thank you for pointing that out. I'll message Gabriel. Cool. Oh, family. Does anyone have anything else that they'd like to share? I'm floating on the webinar idea, Elizabeth. I'm already visualizing how that would all go, because a part of me really is super passionate about permaculture stuff, and I've taken trainings and involved in it, and I'd love to just disperse that to people who are I don't even know how I'm gonna plant trees or do this, And then, Ariane, I mean, there's people that have no idea what imagery is. I mean, really, they don't, because I didn't know what it was, So that's what's so cool is I feel like we really have these things that they could be made into an event that was very much hey, this is what it is, come and learn the skill. And then you have the skill. Brian, yeah.
One thing I was thinking, Elizabeth, is that we're talking about this workshop idea and going with that. In the interim, you might want to host discussions along this line. So when we get to this workshop intensive thing, there's already a you already have these ideas, and there's more of a presentation that you can take from all these important discussions that happen by people gathering like this, and talking about different aspects of how they want a community to come together, and so you don't get issues that are so common when you hear about community. There's always dramas, and in those and even in those meetings with the Russian folks, even on their kin's domain, when everyone's going in with this idea of it, it's the same thing. I think people are people, so there's got to be a way to allow that freedom of personal space to gather in a community. And I'm not sure that's that whatever that secret formula has ever been unlocked before, and so I think your ideas and your your passion for this, and that might be something you can come up with, and it might happen by not necessarily waiting for this workshop to happen, but getting organizing and hosting discussions like this in the interim, so you can really get this momentum going.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Actually, I think that that what you're talking about is more what I meant. When we started talking about a webinar, then I put myself in this position of like presenter or teacher, and I like kind of froze a little bit. I want to put myself more in the role of like interviewer. Like I want to ask everybody like what, and then like maybe like host, but there's this, I think there's this idea in my head of doing a presentation that does it. So that wasn't the initial thing, but I did like where that could possibly end up, because like I was saying in my email, it would be really great to be able to be a guide for this. And so, but this preparation of discussing with people, what does it look like for you? Like, let's just like get into a list of questions, like what does this look like for you in your imagination? What does this look like for you? And that's kind of how I would build my understanding of it. And then, yeah, I guess culminating in something like a webinar could be really cool. But I really appreciate what you shared, Brian. I think that's like just starting these small discussions that feels doable. Totally, definitely.
Yeah, it's like this discussion. It just started with why it's inspiration, and then what the guided visualizations and guided imagery that Ariane hosts, that started with an inspiration, and we've seen on the website how that's grown. There's these European calls that go on, and so this is another inspiration that's so important and so critical to building this up on a landscape level and scaling it up to that. So it's not like, I have my kin's domain, but I'm not surrounded by other people's kin's domain, and a lot of other people live that way too. It'd be awesome if my neighbors were living in that way, and but that takes effort and coordination, and so taking those steps now would be valuable for this long-term sort of vision that we all share.
Thanks. Yeah,
so
I think
go for it.
Yeah,
Thank
totally.
you.
Yeah, we whenever I talk to Gabriel, he's always just like, he's not, this is a space for leaders to emerge. And, it's been really cool. I mean, Ariane can attest to this, to watch the thousands almost of people all across the globe. And for us, it's reflected in a few hundreds right now. But the thousands of leaders that are stepping up each day, right? And it's so cool, because I feel like that's the leader in you is just wanting to, you might be like, I'm not a teacher, I'm not, but you have that energy. And I feel like that's super important, to foster that and to channel that in the right avenue, because, I'm really not, I'm passionate about community, but not like you are, so you're in the perfect role, right? So it's like, these are all aspects that we're continuing to refine in our image of what this life looks like, because we have a blessing being apart from each other right now, because we could be rushing into this whole thing and then being like the Russians, who honestly, they do have mistakes. Like, they do have people that are like, man, just so you know, don't do it this way. Like, we have the opportunity right here to be like, I love the idea of role playing, and I love what imagery does too. Like, we can play out any scenario. We have the mind power and the imagination to be able to imagine a whole host of circumstances and be like, does that work? Does that work? Does having him in charge, or they're in charge, or this group, I think it's so vital, Elizabeth. And there's a lot of people who are looking to do that. One last thing I know Gabriel would say though to this, I can hear his voice, is that we have to be careful when we talk about this to not make similes to eco villages and homesteads. That was a subject of our last call, and that's a very important distinction that he has tried for over 5 years to really solidify on the website and in his personal dialogue. with, high, investors or different people like that, is like, these are not homesteads. These are not eco settlements. These are kins domains, principally settled by individuals who then live in a community. So the community aspect is an aspect, but it is these individuals who are subunits, and they're isolated subunits. It's not like, hey, you want to, come over and sleep in my bed tonight. It's like, no, this is my home. It's like, but we might be like going out and picking in our big field of, sunflowers or something, all of our sunflower, I just know that he would say that. But besides that, I think it's an amazing topic that I'd love to learn more about, really, and hear from your experience and those people who have lived in intentional communities and lived in these settlements, or not settlements, but villages. I don't know, has anybody seen A New Earth by Stefan Wolf? Anybody seen that? It's made by Ringing Cedars Press. It's an amazing documentary about these eco villages and intentional communities. Let me see if I can drop the link in here for you guys to check it out. It was a life-changing, it was just really cool to see these people, because it really contextualized like where their drawbacks would be. Like, you could totally imagine like, oh, this one, isn't doing well, but super, super good documentary to watch. Stefan Wolf is a good friend of Gabriel's. Let me see if I can drop that in there for everybody.
Yeah, I spent multiple years before finding this kins domain of our own here, trying to gather people and work with others to purchase and go in on a larger plot of land, and split that up, and so we would have this. So we would have our kins domain and be surrounded by other people with their kins domain. And, a lot of these discussions and just people that were, coming into it were, had these backgrounds in community or wanted community like that. And it always seemed to, just because that's what, people think of when they think of settlements. You think of the whole Western mindset, how towns were originally created, and how towns are run, and cities are run, and governments are run, and so we're totally indoctrinated into this system, which is so not kins domain, right? It's and so after a while, we just weren't able to find a group of people going for it and really doing it. So that's when we were just like, we're just, we just got to do it, and not wait for these settlements to happen, or not wait for everyone else to come up to speed with what the books are preaching. And a lot of these were people who have read the books even, and so so it's really, so I'm kind of with Wyatt, where it's like community's not obviously I decided to move forward without that aspect of it. But I know that it's super important, because you want these, to flourish and everyone to get along as such. So you unlock that solution to finding what makes a kins domain a community, but not a community in the traditional, or in the sense that we know.
Yeah, and I think part of why I'm curious about that is because I feel how it hasn't worked. And I'm just like, I feel like I'm almost turned off to it. and running away to my like my own single space. And so part of this is a thing for me to be like, wait a second, like, no, I mean, I hear that there's community in these things, that people are getting together. It's like, what does that look like? You know? And I love to play. I love to pretend. I love to like, just, I'm still very much a kid when it comes to that. And so that's part of like where the role playing comes from and things. And I think I position myself, I think, more as like a muse. I really love that term. So yeah, anyway, I really appreciate everything that you've said and how just what everybody has said and how it just has like helped shaped how I feel like moving forward and what it really is about for me and what these discussions really are about for me.
That's awesome. I'm glad you found some structure to those crazy feelings that can be like so inspired and you're like, wait, but how do I channel this down? Like it's a good feeling to feel that grounded terra firma, right? I wanted to so the link I put in the chat, go check that out, guys. You can watch the documentary for free there. Super good documentary. Really good stuff. When I first watched it, I was just like, whoa. None of them are ringing Cedars inspired. I will say that. Well, okay, I shouldn't say that. It's very much like love and community based. Like it's not like, oh yeah, we're just all living together, but they're not like kin's domains. But Stefan set out to kind of showcase who was already living this way in Europe, or not living this way because this is different, but living in community life. And it's very clear the drawbacks to some of the way that people are doing things. I mean, I remember watching one and I was just like, oh my gosh, well, aren't they going to have all these problems? And, you know, he doesn't go into that, of course, but so it's just a really good documentary to check out. Yeah. Oh my gosh, look at those kids. They're so pretty. Are you guys going to go to the ocean and swim today?
Hi. Did you hear he said, are you going to go to the ocean and swim today? No. Not today?
Not today.
We found coconut ice cream sandwiches.
Yummy.
Oh.
So they're getting a treat.
And it's our dinner.
They're having dessert before dinner. It's not your dinner. You're still going to eat dinner.
So Ellen just mentioned something. I think that would be a good idea if you guys are all down. I know it's late. We'll just do one round. But yesterday or the last call I did, we did this. If anybody was here in the beginning, Maureen was talking about ascension attitudes, right? And so there's these keywords that it was really empowering to really just like calm everyone's self and to go round table. And everybody, you know, you kind of get into a flow with it, but everybody just says something that resonates with that word or a feeling, you know? So like, for example, you know, if Ellen says, okay, we're going to do truth, you know, I might say like, for me, truth is this, truth is the, you know, that's where Rowan came in, Ariane, and he started saying all these poetic things. And we're just like, Rowan, you can't just say these things without letting me have a pen and a paper nearby. I mean, he was just like spewing off stories. I'm like, wait a second. Wait, Rowan. But yeah, it's a really connecting practice. I know Ellen can attest to the energy that we felt afterwards. It was amazing. You know, and I think it's just a good way to ground. So, you know, Ellen, you came up with the idea. I would love to have your input on the word, and you know, that we could circle around and everybody could kind of just share what their heart says to them when they say that word, what it resonates with.
Truth felt really good. The other ones up for grabs were gratefulness, empowerment, and celebration. And
Ooh, it's a tough choice between the last one and the first one. Truth and celebration. Those are hard. Those are tough energies.
maybe we can offer, if you feel more called to express truth, or you feel, or we could do 4 rounds and be here for 3 more hours, like we could do, but
we should probably it's going pretty long. We should probably just do 1 round for everybody on the call. Truth or celebration? I think it's cool to leave it open, whatever you feel called to say. I don't know how we want to do this. We can do popcorn style, or if everybody just wants to like kind of go and hopefully we don't interrupt. I'm so down to whatever works.
Just to be clear, Wyatt, you're saying that we share what that word means to us. Is that it?
Kind of. Ellen, is that what we did last time? It's like, yeah, like Paramatma led it. And she's like, so she say truth. And then Paramatma would start, she'd be like, truth is my toes in the soil, and like really almost like we all had our eyes closed, and it's really like the image of truth for you, and like describing that. It was good. It was good.
maybe it's also starting off with a moment of connection, like, imagining, using Ariane's skills of being in your kin's domain, in your perfect place of love. And what does that feel like if we take a minute or like 30 seconds to just ground in that space in silence, and then go do the popcorn style? Because we've all been kind of sharing. I kind of go into a mental space sometimes when I'm and I want to come from my heart space, my inner wisdom with this.
Yeah.
And maybe the kids can participate too.
Maybe. Yeah, let's do it.
Because the kids totally want to participate.
Awesome.
When you're ready, but we'll take our turn. Oh, wait. You can't stop eating. If you guys are open to that, I don't want to.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes.
When you hear the word, you can pick one of these 2 words, and then you can say what it inspires in your heart: truth or celebration.
And then maybe just take a moment and picture being in your perfect space.
Yeah. Oh yeah, right. Remember how you put your hands in your center and then feel it like Lenny the rabbit.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yes. Like what? And then, okay, which one do you pick?
I celebration.
Okay. Can you stop eating and then say your here? Would you like to go first, Kai? No. Okay.
So that doesn't participate.
Okay, that's fine. Celebration. What does celebration make you feel in your body?
Celebration makes me feel happy, and I get to do a lot of stuff. It's just really, it's really fun to celebrate birthdays and celebrate people.
And celebrate ice cream sandwiches.
What? Delicious.
Sorry, we're a little distracted by
ice cream sandwiches.
I know. What is this? Is a celebration.
Understandably. Okay.
I can follow up as mommy, and I'm not going to eat ice cream while I speak because it's a little easier. But when you said celebration, I went, whoa, because the whole time we were talking today, we were celebrating with my mom here. And it was hilarious because I'm glad we were on mute, because we were just so amped on everybody on this call. It feels like this decadent, rich pool of energy and humanness. Everybody's here contributing, and like how you're talking about being in their space and anchoring the space. It's just, it's so much good that I can't even contain it all. It's bursting out of the seams, this wonderful feeling. And can I share a quick story? I don't want to take up too long, but it's with Ariane and Stefan and I and our family have had all these weird synchronicities coming on. And I didn't even look this up until now, but we meditated for them this weekend on Sunday in the forest while my mom was here. And it was this beautiful thing. And we walked out. This is like in the national park, deep forest. Came out, walked through, and there was this woman painting. And she just was like this shiny light. So my mom and I, of course, walked up like, you're shining and beautiful here. And she was painting, it's called Haida. Is that right? Am I saying it wrong? Anyway, this tribal art of a whale, like a Native American art. And she said how she's from this tribe, the Haida tribe. She's illustrating this for a book. And it's this, I'm probably saying it wrong, Native American tribe traveling, that there's a connection between Hawaii to British Columbia to Alaska. After we had just meditated and pictured them with this wellness, space. And then I hadn't looked it up at all. My mom had just reminded me of what it is. And then Stefan comes on wearing the picture of the whale. And when I saw him today, and we're texting going, is that the whale? Is it a tribal art? And it was from the Haida tribe. Anyway, I wanted to just read you what this author, the illustrator, says in her About Me page, because it's just wild. Sorry, is this okay? I'm taking up too much time.
Please. You're dazzling. You have no idea. I'm like, this is.
Oh, where did it go? I had just had it. Oh, here she is. Her About Me says,
why it's on it?
Janine's works are inspired by the waters and lands of the Pacific and their myriad colors, energies, and languages. And then it says, quote, like the burning of dried cedar branches, I try to ignite sparks of connection through my creations. Is that incredible? It's just blows my mind. So that's my celebration story. And then I'll stop taking up all the time.
When are you taking a trip down to Hawaii, Ariane? I mean, when's that happen?
Might be a one-way trip.
Don't even get me started. Megan, we've had so many Hawaii people literally walking up to us and saying like, have you thought of moving to Hawaii? And we're like, where is this? It's incredible.
I'll show it to you in a little bit, okay, my dear?
That is so awesome. You guys, that's so cool. Man, Hawaii bound.
I'll send you the link to this land we're looking at next week. It's exciting.
Please
So
do.
I'll stop taking up all the time, but I just wanted to share. I'm like, can't contain it. It's so amazing. Life is so amazing, incredible. Daily, every day is just, it's so much that I'm so grateful. So I'm passing the baton to the next person.
Yay. That makes me celebrate your celebration. And I love your t-shirt, Stephen. Stefan.
So yeah, I mean, feel free to go, Ellen, or anybody go. Truth or celebration. I mean, it's gonna be hard to top that one, just saying. But that's pretty good celebration there, guys. I mean, how often does that, like, the t-shirt part's just getting me. I'm just like, I just can't stop smiling. I'm like, how does that, okay, sorry.
This is the beginning. Her oracle daughters literally dreamed of Stefan and said that we would be living on common ground. It's literally formulating everyone 5D style. Like this is this is coming in, and it's we are having the same magic on our side, and we never considered moving there. We were set on British Columbia. I really encourage all of us to open up the door to sheer possibilities we have not even considered. We've not even considered. Megan always stood out for me, but I never thought I would live with her. We never thought that. She's always stood out, and I'm sure she felt the same way, like, oh, this is coming our way now. We can't deny it. We can't deny it. So this incredible, we truly are. I love what Stanley said. He's like, there's a reason why we're all over the world. That hit me so like beautifully. Yes, because we're literally anchoring all over the world. And we're also going to be calling, you said this, Wyatt, on the other call, you said, we're tuning forks and we're going to tune to one another. And all over the world, we're going to unite.
And in fact, it's really, really important that we're all spread out across the globe, because as we've also learned through the series, as an intention, as an energy travels through the ethers, it picks up more of that energy as it moves, which is her case for why, sending someone that whole vital light really can magnify so much more when you're doing that for the person at a distance rather than right there in front of them.
Totally. Let's open up the doors. I never thought ever, but it's happening. And literally we went to the neighbors. You want to talk about celebration? I'll make this quick. We went to the neighbor's house next door. They invited us to we really want you to meet these people. You got to meet these people. So we sat down and we met this young couple, and the guy looked at us and he's like, you're thinking of, because Hawaii, of course, came up in the conversation. And he's like, if you want to move to Hawaii, one of the best ways to do it is, and he gave us this huge, essentially way to get citizenship and all, because he works for the military and the government, and he has all of this information that we didn't have.
He was saying that, a religious, some type of, it might be easier to gain citizenship through religion, like a religious affiliation. And I was like, are you kidding me? They've just submitted, the foundation itself has just submitted a request to be a 508c1a, which is set up as a ministry.
It's a ministry.
So it could be an underwriter for, a religion.
Yes, and I'm sorry I'm jumping in here because it's just like I'm telling you, it's an explosion. But I met with these women this weekend that started a small school, and we met together to kind of continue it along. And I brought out that forming it under a religion and making it based on this land. She just bought 5 acres. We're going to get a couple more and have it be school, religion, supporting, healing. Sorry, that's a child sound in the back, so I'll mute myself. But yes, I love it. Yes.
It's huge. This is huge. What my intuition says is, everyone, let's not, if another country's calling you, or a group or a person or a group is calling you in some other faraway country you never considered, just keep the door open, because we are going to unite in a totally new blueprint. It's like the 5D blueprint. It's completely new way.
And the truth is, countries were a man-made construct anyway. We're all from the same one earth.
Totally. This is going to be totally new. So if we're how's that going to happen? Just let the 5D world and universe show you, because it's daily. I don't know. It's amazing. It's amazing, and we've just begun, and it's available for all of us, every single one of us. It's amazing.
I'm just riding their celebration wave. How about you guys? This is my celebration. So
it's all of it. Yeah.
We've got a nice mix of the celebration and the truth. So in a way, we're celebrating the truth. So I'm not sure I can really add anything. I'm just experiencing and appreciating what's happening in front of me.
Seconded.
Dinesh, you have to speak to Rowan. Imagine Dinesh and Rowan in the same room.
It's such a joy to have you on this call, Dinesh.
And Dinesh, thank you for being here, dude. Thank you.
Well, I've been a fan of you guys for a while, and so when I saw the opportunity tonight, I was like, well, maybe I should hop in and see what's going on. Maybe I can add some value. Maybe I'll learn something. I really had no expectations other than I was like, okay, maybe I'll put some names to some faces and and go from there. But it's interesting because when you read the books, you read them in absence of anybody else, so you don't realize that there are other people like you out there that are deriving meaning from this experience and are going through their own kind of metamorphosis as a result of all this information. So you just feel like, well, it's just me. The book was written for me, and I'm experiencing all this. And then when you actually get to meet other people who have been touched in similar ways, it changes your perspective altogether. So I'm very grateful for being part of this.
You have got to connect with Rowan. Seriously, you guys are like probably brothers in a past life. It's crazy. I don't know how Ariane came up with that connection.
I'm not ruling it out.
How did
no, sorry, I need to jump in. Sorry, we need to record this. We need to record Dinesh and Rowan. It needs and then
Totally. Rowan's at an ashram right now trimming fruit trees. So he'll be back in 2 weeks and you just be on the call then. He'll be there. Rowan's
all right, we'll do this.
He's a good guy. Oh my gosh.
Everybody's so beautiful. Everyone is so beautiful. Everyone is so beautiful in this community. Oh my God.
Guys, I do have one question, and it's a bit of a query that, I don't know if this is an experience others are sharing, but I feel that I'm buzzing all the time. I don't know if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like I feel like my physical body is having a hard time almost managing all this influx of energy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's going on? Like, why am I feeling this way? It's odd. I mean, it's not bad, but it's like I'm constantly buzzed.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I totally do. I mean, I haven't slept nights. Literally, I've been like, I can't do 2 calls in a row. Like I've had that thought. I've been like, wait, can I do this actually? Is this good for my, because I'm up, seriously. Like I'm not going to bed after this. There's no way. Somebody just gave me a cup of coffee. You know what I'm trying to say?
This is called getting high from your own supply. Just
say
that. I love that.
Yes.
So good. But I feel that buzzing all the time. It's like I can't contain it. And then I'm like, do other people think I'm strange because I'm going around grinning?
Right.
But it's so good.
And when we think of it as attuning to a higher frequency, with higher frequency, because it's more frequent. That's why it's a frequency. It's a higher frequency, so it's more frequent. And so as we attune to that, it makes sense that we're having more of a visceral response.
I'm glad you said. Go ahead, Dinesh.
No, I say it's quite fascinating. I've never really experienced something like this.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that because I do feel it. There's just this, buzz on the body that goes on. It's pretty amazing when, and it's because you're tuning into that higher frequency. It's like, when you were reading the books through for the first time and you were just like the feelings that came up inside. And it was just a very personal and powerful, empowering feeling, and just, this buzz, and you're just, going through, flipping back, rereading, all that kind of stuff. It was so great. And so in these community calls, it's like, everyone's dropping into that energy, and so it gets magnified, and you can't help. I'm glad you said that because I feel that too, and I'm glad. And I just assumed it just wasn't just me. I'm doing that with all the laughter and hijinks going on, all these people smiling. Zach's only got his picture up and it's smiling. I don't know if it was smiling before, but it is now. So it's just, it's just really good vibes, and it feels good to be in good vibes. And then it's just fun to be able to carry this forth and just knowing we're not alone.
Brian, I want to just like jump and add on to that thought train. So I did this experience today. So a wonderful member of our community, Sarah Redmond, offers rebirthing, breathing, breath sessions. And it's based kind of off holotropic breathing a little bit. I have never done holotropic breathing. I mean, the only thing I could liken it to was like, I don't know, doing some crazy out of body drug because it was a crazy experience. And what I realized is like, once you like let go, once you like, this all gets like not penetrated, you like move past that, like it's whatever you turn to, like, it's so always there. It's so always present. That buzz, that goodness. It's like, it's like it's always there. Like there's not ever, so it's like why not be in bliss? And when, you know, I don't know, man, it was such a visceral, real experience. As Stefan was saying, you know, when we tune into those places, like there's no shadow of doubt, like whatsoever. And it's so blissful. It's so joyed out, you know? Yeah, so I'm just feeling what you're feeling, Brian. We're all on that cloud, a cloud, and we're all deep rooted into the soil at the same time. It's a, you know, material embodiment. It's a gift. Yeah. Look at all these smiling faces.
All right, my friends, it's been lovely. I'll bid you a good evening. I need to get to bed, but it's been such a lovely experience. Thank you for sharing this with me. And I said I look forward to the future, to great things that we will do together as a community and as friends.
Thank you, Dinesh. Yes, please sign up on the community platform, my friend. We would love to see you there. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Well, does anybody else have any other laughter inducing things that we want to say or do? I might fall out of my chair, but you know.
You just ascend, like you just ascend, and none of us are surprised. We're like, yeah, oh yeah, you just ascended, like right there. I was gonna say Willick said something so beautiful to Padmatma. Am I saying her name?
Paramatma.
He said something really beautiful. He's actually said quite a few beautiful things. And it's like, he could be someone great also to step up in leadership if he chooses. But what he said was, he was like, we're coming to a place where we're really seeing the divinity in one another, you know. And him and Paramatma said, they exchanged and they said, I see the divinity in you. And he said, yeah, I see the divinity in you too. And it was like such a beautiful exchange of words, and we all felt it. And it was a moment for me where I realized, yeah, we're at this point now where we can say this openly, and it's not going to be seen as weird or peculiar. Like, this is going to be a norm for us. And how beautiful is that, to be that mirror of like, you're, as Rowan would say, a light body. What does he say? You're a luminous.
A temple of light, a walking temple of light.
Walking temple of light. Walking temple of light. So imagine, I just want to say to all of you, I see all of you on this call and beyond. You are all walking temples of light. And thank you for mirroring that to me. We are all mirroring to each other this magnificent divinity we are. And I mean, there's like so many reasons to celebrate. I don't even know where to start. It's like everywhere, like reasons are like every possible angle to get to just be so freaking joyous. Happy the way Anastasia talks about, you know, Anastasia's like, hey, be happy. When I read that, I was like, really? Be happy? Like, it was like so far, you know, from real sincere happiness. And look, we're unlocking it together. These are truly this is the beginning, everyone, of something so epic and global and phenomenal. Like, we're all over the world and history in the making. Oh my God, so many reasons to celebrate. It's really exciting.
It is. Yeah. Very much so.
Totally. And I just have to say, Brian, the way you speak is awesome. I just feel like I want to hear you speak. It is such a phenomenal, meditative, soothing, chill voice. It's awesome.
Doesn't he look like a red roost too? Like, he's got the like.
Oh my God. I'm telling you, dude, you are.
You're the first, Brian. You know, you were doing this before you found us, you know? Wow.
Oh, it's true.
That takes some strength. Like, I didn't know, none of us here are doing that.
He's holding down the energy for us all, Brian.
Your roots are going deep.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thanks. That's just how I feel.
Oh.
You know, I mean, you were talking about seeing the divinity in others, and I think the real, like the personal calm and personal empowerment happened when I truly realized and believed that, like, you know, the divinity in you is the divinity in me. And then to be able to feel that you know, I can be that, or I am that inspiration for others, that, you know, the inspiration that others are for me. And so I am totally inspired by all the powerful words that everyone's been sharing here. And it's you know, to truly feel yourself as a part of it is like, that's like a big step that is so important for every individual to take, because then you know, you personify it and you want to live in that energy, and you want to be impeccable in your word and in your actions, and you want to, I mean, that's like the essence of truth, just being what you feel is right, and being it, and just doing it unapologetically, whatever it is. So yeah, keep being awesome.
You too, Brian. Thank you so much.
That's, you know, the awesomer you get, you know, I always like, the awesomer you get, like, that must mean that, like, I'm getting awesomer.
Yes.
It's because we do that. I mean, we attract, you know, like attracts like. And so if I'm going around and I'm seeing all of these great things happening around me, you know, it's good to take those moments to be like, yeah, I'm doing all right. Awesome. And there's no reason to question that. So when you do that for a while, then you just stop questioning, like, is this really happening? Is this real? Is this, you know, how long can this sustain for? Is it true that everything can just keep getting better and better? And that, you know, even when there's things happening around us, like, you know, less of those, like, less awesome things happen around us, but even when they do, because it's inevitable, it's like, you can handle it, and it just rolls off. And I think you know, that just comes with you know, just living and experiencing and knowing the full circle of life, and this every I'll leave with this good nugget that's one of my favorite, is just like, every breath is a gift, and just take it and give it and love it.
Can we record him and have a podcast with him? Oh my gosh. I'm buzzing off Megan and Arion's goodness, as Brian was saying. Like, seriously, it's like cathartically contagious. Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, but it works like that. Like, you know, we see the good news of other people's, and yes, Brian is shining the night. We see the good news in other people, and, you know, there's a culture that says, oh, you have this something and I don't have it. And it's like, no, it's a happy thing. Like, we see the good in other people, and it's like, yes, it is possible. Like, you know, we totally just walk another leap or step or jump further in our own direction of it. You know, it's yeah, it's so amazing. And it's the tuning fork, man. It's like Arion's video. I love that video. If you haven't watched it, it's just fun to watch. First of all, like, how that actually works. It's the same thing if you have a guitar and a piano, playing E on the piano, and then your E string vibrates, you know, it's the same principle. So it's like, whoa, like, we literally are doing that, you know, all around the world. Yes.
I'm picturing Brian coming up. You got, and your family, at some point we'll all meet. We're not that far from each other.
I was just thinking that. That's crazy. I was thinking
Yeah,
this.
we're like it's like about a 2-hour drive.
Not too
But yeah, we
bad.
will. I wasn't able to make it that day when you were getting together.
We'll make it another time. There, everything is perfect timing, but I just had this picture of whoever wants to come to Big Island is coming over. But you and your family, and if we get this land, we're just going to have a big dance party on the land with our families together and rejoicing, because it's just so soothing to my soul to be with like-minded people who are living this way. But it's not oftentimes when you're living freely and in the flow, it can go into a dimension that I think happened in the 60s, where it got into mixed in with some things that maybe were darker. But this community is so pure and good and wholesome and kind and supportive of each other. I've been scared to meet people in the past, like, oh, what am I gonna get it myself into? Sorry, that's my duck. But I don't have that fear, of meeting people here and seeing you. And that fear went away when I met up with Vladdy's family and Urji that day. Just, oh my gosh, there's people that I feel so at home with that I've never met before. And I feel more at home than my closest friends I have here in this community already. It's just, so anyway, I just thank you for that. It's a little going sideways, but I just, when the time comes, we'll all meet up and we'll have a good time together in a section with families that want to maintain love in the family unit and then their family domain. It's just, anyway, I think I am a little high off the celebration in such a good way. I'm just excited to just bring the vibe around.
Totally. I want to just clarify what you're saying, Megan, is so true, because in the 60s, they weren't desiring for anything on earth. Like, our desire is pure because it's in alignment with like what we've done in our DNA, right? Like, we're not trying to float off to some other planet. Like, this is our planet. This is our home. This is my family. This is my tree, this is like, we don't need to go anywhere else. Like, that's why I'm happy. I'm not happy because I'm floating off into some dimension that I haven't yet experienced with its all mysteriousness. Like, no, I know where I can go. I've seen it and dreamt it, and what I dream, I will come. Like, that's what's, I don't know, our purity lies in, I think, the simplicity of our intention and the practicality of it. We're not, you know what I mean? It's so simple. It's like, it's happiness. It's like, grow to the sun. The tree doesn't have to think about it. Grows towards the sun. Grow towards the sun. It's like, be happy. Not a big deal. Simple choices.
Yeah. I think it's a big difference between escapism and embodiment.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
We really are embodying it. And it's such a joy to connect. I too, Megan, feel that this group has such purity that I've looked for all my life. And so it's been really sweet to have just that kinship, like that word kin comes very easily here. And I would say I have like both truth and celebration to share, since we're being a little bit more verbose, and when Paramatma shared, we were a little bit more on subject, but I love how it just goes off in these ways. So truth for me is like, I was in the let's be blissful all the time kind of mode for a long time. And I couldn't even imagine ever having a bad whole day, because I would shift it. And so since I've had this, physical challenge this year where I'm not able to, skip down the street and do like the things that would come naturally in my expression, it's been, such a call for compassion for myself and my dreams and for humanity's suffering, because I've always, wanted to end suffering on this planet. All my younger days were spent trying to save the earth or people in some capacity. So having a limitation that I never expected has given me a pause. So I'm not, being in a place of my space of love yet, but I realize it's also serving me. And so sometimes the challenges that are unexpected or unwelcome at first can really be catalysts for greater expansion and greater love. And to include that in our journey forward, that in community, in our homesteads, there's still going to be people passing, there's still going to be the change of the seasons, there's still going to be times when what we dream doesn't come to fruition in the timeline that we expect, or friends part ways, or whatever it is, and to allow space for that. And that's something I'm learning, because I kind of excluded some of my grief and some of my darker emotions because it didn't resonate with me, that the frequency. But it's all kind of part of what's necessary, I think, to truly embody, is to honor all of them, and they're all valid, all experiences that we go through, and then still keep that light of the dreaming potential of our ideals. And as Brian eloquently spoke, impeccability in word and action and deed, and in aligned thought, bright thoughts. And so it brings me to celebration, and celebration for a minor thing, but it was just the synchronicity of it. I lead or facilitate a call once a week. Bye, Avery. It was nice having you here.
Love you. Bye.
You're so cute.
Bye.
Good night. What a delight. She was just such a always just smiling the whole time. It was really sweet to see her. So I was
yeah. No. I wanted you to. That's what I was gonna say. Are you gonna finish or? Go ahead.
Yeah. So the celebration part was, I was on a call, and so one of the things that always brings me back to the oneness and the bliss, no matter how much pain I'm in or how much stuff is arising, is the sparkles and snow. And I might have mentioned it to you guys before, because it's like sometimes you have a trigger for an uh-oh feeling, like when a policeman's car lights are in your rear view mirror, even if you haven't done anything. Like sometimes your body can have a response like that. But a positive trigger for me has always been seeing rainbow sparkles or snow sparkles. Like anytime there's like sparkles on water or snow, but particularly the rainbow ones, because there's a certain crystal refraction. And when I see that, I just go right into bliss and oneness. So my friends know that, and a couple people on these calls know that about me. Like, I don't know how they refer to it, because they just think of those, when they see it, they think of me somehow. So on this call, I had just shared that story just like this in this group, and I had woken up where I was, and it was like millions and millions and millions of sparkle around a fresh snow that was so gorgeous. And it just started my day off really beautifully. Then I had the call, and somebody on the call said, "Hey, I'm in Canada and I'm looking at all these snow sparkles. And I thought of you, Ellen. I'm sending you snow sparkles your way." And then I, had shared like how meaningful that is to me, and how I just felt that this morning. Then somebody texted me while I was on the call, but I don't check my phone when I'm facilitating. And then actually it was a voice message. And it was like a 3-minute long voice message from the guy I had been in love with for 5 years or so. He's the one who first started me on the Anastasia series, and so this was a voicemail message from him. He used to call me Illuminous, like Ellen Illuminous in one word. And at the end of the message, he was saying how he was seeing all these snow sparkles, and knowing that seeing me in radiant health, and it was just so amazing. And it was the same time we were having the call about sparkles on the call. So it was like one of those synchronicities of just like, okay, you are supported, you will get through this. There's snow sparkles at the end of the tunnel, and just keep going. Like, don't give up and lose faith. You know, it is, it's everywhere. So anyway, I thought I'd share that story because of the timing of it was pretty profound. And now it kind of makes seeing them even more sweet because it's like, it's almost like a sign, you know, a blessing is happening. And I love that idea. Someone mentioned on the call today, just, you know, to keep aware of the many, many blessings that are happening all the time. And just realize, like, ask for this evidence of it. Sometimes if you get off that track of wholeness or oneness, like it can show up and we can call that in. So thanks, everyone.
Ellen, that was such a beautiful share. A story that is in the books that came to mind when you were talking about truth. And you were referring to a little bit of pain that you were going through. And, you know, how you were talking about how that's good to go through sometimes. And the story that came up in my mind was Vladimir and Anastasia, and sometimes I say her name two ways. Vladimir and Anastasia are walking back to the boat where Vladimir, when this is in book one, and they had just, you know, met and blah, 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 and conceived a child. And Vladimir is still kind of a newbie to Anastasia's world and the concept of rationality. And so they're walking back and they start talking about their children, that they're the child that they're going to have. And Vladimir talks about, you know, I'll try to come back and blah, blah, blah. And Anastasia says, you know, it's not good for you to see him right away. You know, you must understand it's not good for you to see him. And actually ends up kind of calling him like a dimwit inadvertently. And, you know, he gets his feelings kind of hurt and he's like, well, how could you treat me that way? And blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And he gets fired up and he ends up calming down. And, you know, he just basically, in a way, describes to Anastasia, like, this is painful for me, like that I can't see my son. And she says, a pain like that is good for the soul. It will purify the person going through that pain. So it's kind of like some of these things we go through are like, we can't just be adverse or, you know, like, oh no, I can't feel that. Like, no, pain is a conversation between you and God, you know, like listen, like, why would you want to ignore that, you know? And I think you're just like, it's so beautiful because like your experience is totally just wrapping that all up in summation there. But I mean, yeah, I'm definitely that type of person where I'm like, oh, I feel a little like ache, like, let me take a cold shower and just do some yoga, I'm fine. It's like, whoa, wait, why is your back been hurting, or why is your leg hurting there? Oh, you've been overworking yourself, you haven't been taking you know, it's like we don't pay attention. We sometimes like to just like, yeah, go to those places that we know we can find solace and bliss, or, you know, whatever. But it's like, then it starts to wear off because we're like half bliss and those things start stacking up. So anyway, long story short, it was a beautiful share, Ellen. Thank you. Oh my gosh, we could probably talk for a couple more hours, but it's about 10:08 here. I don't know how else everybody else is feeling. I mean, I could go, but if I go longer, it's like I'm not sleeping. That's definitely a for sure fact. But I appreciate all you souls here. Brian, yes, speak.
I was just waving.
Oh,
we're wrapping it up. We're gonna go here.
We're wrapping it up. Yep. Thanks, Zach, for staying on. And Megan, Ellen, Ariane, Brian, all the people who are gonna watch this. That's what Ariane said that, and immediately I was like, oh yeah, like all of the hundreds of thousands of people that are gonna end up watching this when the Ringing Cedars is like a thing in the country, like News Channel 5. Today we have they're gonna be like going on YouTube, like checking it out, like, whoa, did you see that episode from like way back when they talked about us being on the news? Like, it's gonna be a thing, man. It's going to be a thing. Cool. Okay, everybody. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time, your energy, your efforts. We are totally together in spirit, and let's be bliss.
Much love, everyone.
Much love to you all.
Bye.
Good night.
Later. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.